Naruto, in the name of time, I will shake the ninja world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51 Golden Horn and Silver Horn. In response to these half-threatening, half-intimidating words, Hokage Tsukumo looked at Hoshino Kaede with a strange look. It seems to be saying, "Brother, you need to get treatment if you are sick. What are you looking at?" Zingai Feng's mouth twitched, and then he pretended to look vicious as if this could scare him. Seeing this, Hokage Tsukumo sighed like a little adult. "Brother, has anyone ever told you that you look stupid when you do this?" Upon hearing this, Zingai Feng's eyes widened instantly and he said with a look of dissatisfaction, "Who dares to say that, huh?" He spoke threatening words without hesitation. No wonder he acted like that just now. It turns out he had learned from previous experience. Hokage Tsukumo had a dead look in his eyes, and his hopeless look made Hoshino Kaede cough awkwardly ignore what was just said. Then he saw a hint of relief in Hokage Tsukumo's eyes, and Hoshino Kaede raised his eyebrows and said with a hum, "You've had enough rest, right? Let's continue training." There was obvious revenge in his tone, and a look of surprise flashed across Hokage Tsukumo's plain little face, and then he looked at him with resentment. Zingai Feng ignored him and said smugly, "What are you standing there for? Go quickly, the arms cannot twist the thighs, even the precocious little guy has to give." And he started the rigorous training with a depressed mood. Zingai Feng raised the corner of his mouth. "Boy, can't I control you?" Compared to the relaxed daily life of the two, Hokage Tsukumo, "I don't believe you. The Fire Nation's northern border is much more severe. The garrison troops in the north were a mixed bag, mostly composed of warriors who were recruited at the beginning. They had poor mobility and were unable to effectively respond to emergencies. The ninjas had excellent mobility and destructive power, and their surprise attacks allowed them to break through the defense lines one by one. It was difficult to defend in the first place, and after being defeated one by one, it was completely powerless to resist. But the hidden cloud village did not rush forward. Instead, it slowed down its pace to give Konoha time to return to defend. When Tobirama heard the news, he immediately summoned ninjas for support without any hesitation, taking into account the strength of the hidden cloud village, plus the second-generation Raikage who came in person this time. So it was decided to organize 4 teams, each with 500 people, and send a total of 2,000 ninjas. After repeated deliberation, the commander Tobirama saw 2 figures in his mind, and then decided to let Sarutobi Hiruzen be the commander-in-chief, Denzo assist, and Utane Kaharu and Mitokado and follow the team. After making the decision, Konoha quickly gathered the necessary supplies and summoned ninjas. The leader, Sarutobi Hiruzen, had a calm and composed expression, like a great general, and his eyes flickered. The large army left Konoha amid the cheers and encouragement of the Konoha villagers. Uchiha Kagami and Akimachi Tofu, who stayed behind in Konoha village, were muttering to themselves at the same time, "I hope everyone can come back safely." The whisper was heard exactly by Tobirama, but he didn't say anything, just clenched his fists secretly due to time constraints. Sarutobi Hiruzen had to lead his troops on a quick march, with thousands of figures leaping through the woods. The scene was so shocking that the birds in the forest scattered in all directions. And the sound was so overwhelming it was obvious that there was no intention to hide the movement, and the goal was clear. After a long journey, they finally approached the northern border. This huge movement naturally attracted the attention of the Union reconnaissance team. After some observation, he immediately sent the information back inside the hidden cloud village headquarters. The second-generation Raikage was resting with his eyes closed in a makeshift tent, breathing long and powerfully. One glance at those explosive muscles revealed how powerful they were. "Lord Raikage, reinforcements from Konoha are arriving." A reconnaissance ninja appeared in the tent and said. AI suddenly opened his eyes, and his momentum burst out like a tiger descending from the mountain, and he laughed heartily. "Ha ha ha, they're finally here. How many people are there on the other side?" "Who's the commander?" the scout ninja responded. "There are about 2,000 people, and the commander is Sarutobi Hiruzen, who has become famous in recent years." Hearing this name, AI frowned noticeably, and it was obvious that he was very dissatisfied. He said depressedly, "Why is it this kid? Where is Zingai Feng? Did he come?" I haven't seen him at the moment," the reconnaissance ninja said truthfully. Hearing this, AI looked unhappy, and the regret on his face was visible to the naked eye. The reason why AI cares so much about Kid Hoshino is not just because he is the disciple of the First Hokage. What's more, it has abilities that are beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. There is no such thing as a space-time bloodline limit in the ninja world, as believed by the ninja world. But no one has ever looked down on it. Feng Zhenghai has also carried out many missions, and he returned to the village unscathed every time. No matter how difficult the mission was, it is clearly recorded in the intelligence of various countries. So Feng Hoshino is also listed as one of the people they fear the most at this time. A cold snort came. Humph, Rickage, we are on the battlefield now. It is hard to imagine that there are people in the hidden cloud village who are so disrespectful to the Rickage such scolding words could actually be spoken. But looking around, the people present had normal expressions, with only the occasional one glaring at someone, obviously more than once. But AI's temper was not so good. His eyes suddenly became sharp. He looked at the person who spoke rudely, narrowed his eyes and spoke in a cold voice. Kinjio, I am the Rickage of the hidden cloud village. If you don't accept it, take it from me. If you don't have that ability, then just sit still and be quiet. AI's eyes were full of oppression, and his shadow-level aura exploded in an instant, overwhelming Jinjiao. The heavy aura caused Jinjiao's breathing to stagnate and his heart to beat violently. But even so, he did not back off, but met AI's gaze as a brother. Jinjiao was much more rational. He flashed in front of Jinjiao, smiled slightly and said, Rickage, my brother just lost his temper. Why bother about it? These words made the others unable to bear to look directly, and they all turned their heads away. These two brothers are always like this. The elder brother has a hot temper and is like a powder keg. My younger brother is not much better. He is the type who helps his relatives but not others. In a word, apart from the hidden cloud village, the only thing they care about most is each other. Even if he was just a village leader, they would still talk back to him without any respect. Yinjiao, don't think you can do whatever you want just because you are strong. Watch your brother. If he provokes me again. AI paused. Endless murderous intent burst out from his eyes, and his already powerful aura reached a new level. He said word by word, let me see what you have the confidence to contradict me again and again. Yinjiao's face turned pale, and he forced a smile, saying, haha, of course, humph. Seeing Yinjiao give in, AI retracted his momentum after a cold snort. He discussed the war with Konoha with everyone. Yinjiao looked at AI, who ignored them both, and a surge of anger rose in his heart, but it quickly disappeared without a trace. However, there was a shadow in his eyes and I didn't know what he was thinking. Chapter 52 Dilemma? Flaw? Konoha Camp Commander-in-Chief Sarutobi Hirozen frowned, the worry accumulated between his brows lingering. He looked at the map and thought for a long time, then said, what countermeasures do you all have? Tell me about them. As soon as he finished speaking, Danzo said very aggressively, what are we still discussing? Take back the lost land immediately. Those guys from Kumagakure are definitely no match for Konoha. Such arrogant words made Sarutobi Hirozen's eyes flash with disappointment. This good friend was becoming more and more radical. He was blinded by his achievements. No one echoed Danzo's words, even Yutang Kaharu and Mitokado En remained silent, their eyes thoughtful. No one responded to his words at all, which instantly dissipated Danzo's fearless spirit, and he sat down with a grim expression. At this time, Narashikachi, who was sitting below Sarutobi Hirozen, analyzed for everyone in a deep voice. He has taken over the position of the family patriarch, and as a member of the Nara clan, he has an excellent IQ. Now the Cloud Village is holding its ground and not attacking. It is obvious that they want to delay time so that we will be stuck in the quagmire and unable to escape. Other ninja villages will see this and send a large number of ninjas to attack Konoha, so Konoha will be besieged at the same time and will be unable to deal with it. I'm afraid we don't have much time. We must attack and take back the lost ground. If he had a choice, he actually didn't recommend attacking Kumagakure in a hurry. They had come here at a high speed, and everyone looked a little tired and listless, and urgently needed to rest for a few days. But the reality is often not what we want, and Konoha must end the battle as soon as possible. If you want to do this, you must find its flaws. Yamanaka Genichi followed behind him and said with a gloomy face, but this is simply impossible. Most of the troops are below the level of Chunin. They have been running all night and are already exhausted. If we launch an attack under such circumstances, we will not necessarily fail, but there is a high probability that we will fail. It's not to boost others' morale or to destroy my own prestige, but it's the fact, and I have to say it. When two sides fight, what they fight for is morale. If one side has weak morale, a chain reaction will occur and it will be gradually eroded. His words hung like a dark cloud over everyone's heart. Sarutobi Hirozen had a terrible headache at this time, but he remained calm. As a commander, he could not show weakness, otherwise, an uncontrollable crisis will break out. Danzo, standing aside, also had a frown on his face. Although he was being reckless, he was not a fool. In this situation, the attack would surely fail. This did not serve his purpose. Report. There are unusual movements in Kumagakure, and ninja troops are attacking us. A reconnaissance ninja from the Hyuga family hurried in to report. Yamanaka Genichi looked shocked, then said, "They actually took the initiative to attack? What's going on? Is this a cover?" Narashikazuchi seemed to have thought of something, his complexion gradually improved, and then a smile appeared on his face, and he said, "I'm afraid there's a problem inside Kumagakure." Hearing this, Sarutobi Hirozen's eyes sparkled with brilliance, and he whispered, "The opportunity has come." After saying that, he looked at Narashikachi. In terms of IQ, no one here could compare to him. Seeing the commander looking at him, Lu was not panicked at all. Instead, he thought for a long time before slowly expressing his guess. According to the existing intelligence, the Hidden Cloud Village basically obeys the orders of the Raikage, but there are two exceptions, Kinkaku and Jinkaku. These two are brothers, but the troops under their command never obey the orders of the Raikage. Yamanaka Genichi suddenly realized, so, the troops coming here are the Golden Horn and Silver Horn. Okay, Sarutobi Hirozen shouted and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, this is an opportunity. Do you want to destroy this army?" Danzo said with narrowed eyes, but he felt in his heart that it was too fantastical. Sensei Tobirama had told them about this unit, that although the number of members was small, all of them were elites. Even if a large force is sent to encircle and suppress them, it will not be very effective. Therefore, he felt that Hirozen's idea was too idealistic. Thinking of this, Danzo's mouth curled up slightly, and he looked at Hirozen with a look of watching a show. But unexpectedly, Sarutobi Hirozen's eyes flashed and he directly denied his words. "No, it's too difficult to destroy it. It's not realistic." Seeing this, Danzo's eyes flashed with surprise, and then asked, "What do you want to do?" Sarutobi Hirozen looked at everyone, his mouth moving, as the plan was slowly told. Narashikachi looked thoughtful and nodded slowly. "The chances of success are great, and it's worth a try. Even the think tank Luya said so." So the others had no objections. Then they began to make arrangements to fill in the gaps in the plan. Only Danzo had a dark face and didn't say a word the entire time, but no one paid attention to him, as everyone was concentrating on the plan. A few hours later, Kinkaku and Jinkaku led their troops and rushed towards the Konoha camp. "Captain, everything has been resolved." Kato Ui came to Jinjiao to report. Many Konoha reconnaissance teams encountered them on the way, and they were all dealt with one by one. Jinjiao grinned, with red light in his eyes. A feeling of excitement instantly spread throughout his body, and he said excitedly, "The Konoha camp is not far away. Let's see how I destroy them." Jinjiao smiled slightly, and was obviously much more restrained, but he said something similar, "They are just some weaklings. The Raikage is such a coward. He doesn't look like a ninja at all." Kato Yu looked at his nose and his heart, with his head lowered, looking thoughtful. The two captains could say that, but he didn't dare. Everyone knows that the Raikage has a bad temper, and he keeps his word. This time he ran away secretly after returning. "I guess they will not take it lightly, and there might be another riot." "Well said, there's nothing to be afraid of those guys in Konoha." Jinjiao laughed wildly to them. "There is no one in this world whom they can look up to. Even the Raikage is the same. He is rebellious at heart." After arrest, the troops advanced again and entered a deep forest. Kato Ui perked up and remained on guard while running. After observing for a while, he felt something was wrong and his pace gradually slowed down. This caused Jinjiao's dissatisfaction and he shouted loudly, "What are you doing? Hurry up and get going." Kato pursed his lips, then said, "I feel something is wrong." Jinjiao was very disdainful of this. He strode up to Kato Ui and said coldly, "Are you stronger than me? I didn't even notice it, so why do you think there's something wrong?" Kato Ui opened his mouth, then finally lowered his head and sighed, but didn't say anything else. Jinjiao was not surprised by this and did not think there was anything wrong with it, so he continued, "Don't delay, hurry up and get on your way." Kato Ui shook his head and could only follow the main force, and the trace of doubt completely disappeared after the Gold Horn and Silver Horn troops walked away. The ground surged and a figure appeared. Yamanaka Yuanai raised his eyebrows and said softly, "I didn't expect there would be such a cautious person here," but then he showed a look of contempt. "But unfortunately, the commander is very arrogant." Fortunately. Chapter 53, Fallen into Trap and Fought. At this moment, a surge of momentum suddenly erupted in the Union camp. The pure murderous intent was not concealed at all, and it made people feel cold all over. Those two bastards. AI roared in anger. She actually disrupted his plan and secretly headed straight for Konoha, ignoring his orders. "Come on. Gather the troops and chase after them immediately." Now that things have come to this, AI can only grit his teeth and swallow his anger, and wait until after the war to deal with everything else, and this time, there was an extremely fierce look in AI's eyes, like an angry lion about to open his bloody mouth. Yes, after the order was given, the hidden cloud ninjas quickly assembled, and their speed was even faster than that of Konoha. Just as the hidden cloud group was gathering urgently, Kinkaku and Jinkaku were rapidly approaching their target. The Konoha camp was located in a dangerous terrain, with towering mountains on both sides and only one passage. It has an excellent location. A strategic place that is easy to defend but difficult to attack. Jinjao grinned, looked at the buildings that appeared in front of him, and said excitedly, "We are finally here, they are just ahead." After saying that, he rushed forward impatiently and started killing. Jinjao narrowed his eyes slightly and rarely blocked Jinjao's way. "Brother, what's wrong?" Jinjao obviously has great patience towards his younger brother. Jinjao didn't say anything, but looked at both sides carefully, then looked forward and thought, and said, "Brother, the terrain here is dangerous. Konoha cannot be unprepared. We must be careful and not fall into a trap." Jinjao shook his head in annoyance. He seemed to particularly dislike the word cautious and thought it was a cowardly act, but he couldn't rudely reject Jinjao's words, so he could only speak sullenly. "Then what do you say we should do? There is obviously only one way out here." A cunning look flashed in Jinkaku's eyes, and he waved at Kato Ui. Seeing the captain calling him over, Kato Ui immediately came in front of Jinkaku. "Yaoi, the Konoha camp is ahead. Lead the team to destroy their granaries and medical supplies." Kato Ui didn't hesitate. He turned around and pointed at a few people, then touched them secretly. Looking at the people walking away, Jinkaku's mouth corners slightly raised, and he looked at the Konoha camp with a cunning look. "Could this be a trap of yours? The truth will be revealed soon." Jinjao was secretly proud of himself, thinking that his plan was flawless, and even if it was a trap, only a few people would be lost. Such a loss is nothing to him. Little did he know that there is always someone stronger than you, and Jinkaku's thoughts have been guessed clearly by now. Shikachi. An hour later, a violent explosion sounded, and flames shot up into the sky. The Konoha camp was in chaos, with screams and sounds of fighting everywhere. Jinjao laughed in the distance. "Ha ha ha, Konoha's ninjas are just so-so. They were ambushed so easily, it's totally incomparable to Kumagakure." Jinjao looked at the scene in front of him with joy and was in a good mood. A miserable cry sounded like beautiful music to his ears, and the blazing fire filled him with joy because this meant that Konoha was completely unprepared, which dispelled his last bit of doubt. "Everyone, go ahead and kill as much as you can. Let the ninja world see how powerful Kumagakure is, without any worries." Jinjao gave a decisive order for everyone to attack. In an instant, dozens of figures leaped rapidly between the branches. A few minutes later, Jinjao and Jinjao arrived with a large force. At this time, Kato Ui was being besieged by several senior ninjas and was already at a disadvantage. There were several small cuts on his body and blood was flowing. When he saw the two captains coming, he was not happy but frightened. He didn't care about the enemies around him and shouted loudly, "Hurry up, Captain! There's an ambush!" Upon hearing this, Jinjao instantly became alert and said decisively, "Let's go. Leave here immediately." The sense of crisis in his heart became stronger and stronger, and he immediately abandoned Kato Ui. When Kato Ui saw this, he looked relieved, as if something had come to his mind. Everything in front of his eyes became blurry, and then he fell heavily to the ground, with the dark white bones faintly visible behind him. "HMPH, you talk too much." A Konoha-Jonin looked at him coldly. Jinkaku's eyes were bloodshot, as if he had opened the Sharingan, but he knew very well that he couldn't get too entangled at this time. Otherwise he would lose more just when he was about to retreat. The road behind him was blocked by Konoha ninja Sarutobi Hirozen stood in the front with a cold look in his eyes. "I've been waiting for you for a long time." His tone was calm, as if the person in front of him was an old friend. Jinjao's eyes were bloodshot, and he recognized who he was at a glance. His fierce gaze was like a cold poisonous snake, which made people shudder, but Jinjao was even wilder, like a ferocious beast. He knew that there was no way out in this case. We can only fight to the end. Who will win or lose is still unknown until the last second. Not only them, but also the Unine behind them were the same. They were full of fighting spirit and did not feel the tension of being surrounded at all. It seemed as if those who were surrounded were people from Konoha. Seeing the changes in this army, Danzo sneered with great disdain on his face. "It's just a dying struggle." The two sides confronted each other, and the Konoha ninjas surrounded the Hidden Cloud clan. The next moment, an astonishing battle broke out. Various ninjutsu emerged one after another, and flames shot up into the sky. The ninjas on both sides tacitly gave up the center area. Jinjiao clenched his fist and smiled sinisterly. "Let me see how powerful you are as the commander-in-chief." As soon as he finished speaking, lightning covered his body, and he arrived beside Sarutobi Hiruzen in the blink of an eye. Like lightning, Sarutobi Hiruzen's pupils suddenly shrank and he subconsciously put his arms in front of his chest. Boom! With one punch, Kinkaku knocked Sarutobi Hiruzen more than 10 meters away. The huge impact force made his arms numb and tremble slightly. What a strong force! Sarutobi Hiruzen was secretly shocked, and his vigilance was extremely high. If he had not resisted hastily, the blow would have seriously injured him. "Hiruzen," Danzo exclaimed, standing in front of him with a serious look on his face. "Be careful of Danzo. This guy is very strong. We can't be careless," Sarutobi Hiruzen said in a low voice. After easing the pain, Danzo nodded, and years of tacit understanding enabled him to instantly seal his hands and shout, "Wind escape, big breakthrough." The abdomen bulged, and then all the energy came out in a violent gust of wind. But it was not over yet. Sarutobi Hiruzen followed up with a loud shout, "Fire style, great dragon fire technique." 3 lifelike fire dragons gathered together and flew towards the golden horn with bared fangs and claws. The wind helps the fire, and the fire helps the wind. The combination of the two makes their power even greater. For a moment, red light covered the entire camp, and the sound was terrifying, but Jinjiao was very contemptuous of this. With a flash of lightning, the fire dragon easily dodged it, while also laughing mockingly. This made Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo look extremely ugly, and they fought face to face, taunting each other to the maximum. Jinjiao hooked his finger at them. The meaning was self-evident. They are all young people, young and frivolous. Who can tolerate being provoked like this? The two men immediately stepped forward and started fighting with him on the other side. Silverhorn's battle became even more intense. Chapter 54. Notice something strange. Even with the 3 of Ino Shikajo, plus Utane Kaharu and Mito Katawen, they are still at a disadvantage. There were wounds of varying degrees on his body. Silverhorn laughed mockingly. "Ha ha ha, with just your strength, even if you are ambushed, you still can't stop the 2 of us brothers." This was quite arrogant, but several people had to admit it. Kinkaku and Jinkaku are both cage-level masters, and they cannot be killed by just a few elite Chunin. Who? Narashikachi was sweating profusely. He had just used the shadow imitation technique, but after only staying still for a few seconds, he had already exhausted most of his strength. He felt that what he was holding was not a person, but a steel pillar, standing firmly on the ground. Chiudao Liancheng held the ground with one hand, steam coming out of his body. Originally, it was a Kimichi Tofu who was supposed to come here, but Tobirama felt that the 3 were too young and unstable, so he asked Akimichi Ryanori to take over Akimichi Tofu's position. Looking at the rampant Silverhorn, Chiudao Liancheng's eyes fixed. He took out a blue pill and swallowed it. The medicinal effect instantly flowed through every part of my body, and a warm and comfortable force suddenly appeared. This is the secret medicine of the Kiyomichi clan, the Falion pill, also known as the spinach pill. After taking it, it can instantly increase the body's strength by 30%, and the effect is very powerful. As the pills took effect, Akimichi Ryosuke felt that his body became stronger. An astonishing aura surged from his body, which was beyond his usual strength. This abnormality attracted Jinjiao's attention, but it was just attention. There was a flash of contempt in his eyes. As an old man from the Warring States period, he had a certain understanding of the various families in the ninja world, so he knew what it was at a glance. Although this thing was good, the gap in strength could not be made up by pills. "Ha!" Chiudao Liancheng shouted. Jinjiao smiled lightly and became a little more serious. "After all, they are trying their best, so I have to show my appreciation then, help him end his life as a token of gratitude." A fierce look flashed across his eyes. I saw Chiudao Lian's limbs and head retracted into his body as if they were weak and boneless. His body continued to expand, and when I looked closer, it looked like a spherical object. If that kind of weight were to fall on a person, he would be crushed into pie. Meat bomb tank. The sphere began to roll slowly, and suddenly, it began to spin at a speed visible to the naked eye. The powerful rotational force created dents in the ground, with tiny sparks emanating from them spin, accumulate power, and then explode. The impact force at that moment was released instantly and rushed towards Jinjiao. The Nara deer stared at the scene every second, his wise eyes flashing continuously and the corners of his mouth slightly raised. "It's almost there, but it will take some time." Wait a moment. Faced with this powerful attack, Jinjiao still stood where he was, neither dodging nor evading. He clenched his hands, his muscles bulged, arcs of electricity flickered around his body, and his skin became as hard as steel. "It's not over yet," The chakra in a body surged again, the skin was coated with a layer of blood-red film, and a cold aura emanated from it. "Come on, let me see if you can satisfy me." Yinjiao roared and shouted loudly. He smashed the meat bomb tank hard with his right fist. The collision between the fist and the ball caused a loud noise and raised a cloud of dust. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The smoke cleared, revealing a scene that made everyone in Konoha feel sick. Yinjiao appeared in front of everyone intact. The chariot was blocked by his hands, and a violent friction sound came from his hands. Akimichi Ryusui's chariot did not pose any threat to Jinkoku. "Haha, the strength is good, but it's still a little lacking." Yinjiao smiled lightly, then his eyes focused and violent lightning was released from his hands. Ugh! A series of screams came from Chiudao Liang Chang's mouth. The electric current entering his body made him feel so painful that he couldn't help but scream. Looking at the enemy's screams, Yinjiao's eyes narrowed into a crescent shape. "It's such a beautiful sound. I never get tired of hearing it, and it makes me feel happy all over." After feeling a moment's pleasure, Yinjiao gradually became murderous. And of course he had to fulfill his promise. Just when he was about to increase the intensity of the lightning, several ninjutsu appeared from the side and Jinkoku frowned. After weighing the pros and cons in his mind, he finally had to move away from Liang Cheng when Yutang Kaharu and Mito Kato and saw Jinkoku being forced to retreat. They immediately stepped forward and brought Akimichi Ryusuke back. The electric current hit Liang Cheng's body, causing his eyes to roll back and his body to twitch slightly, but fortunately his life was not in danger at this time. Yinjiao pretended to be regretful and said, "Alice, I almost succeeded." The others were all very annoyed. The tone was really infuriating. Even the calmest Narashikachi couldn't help but clench his fists until his knuckles turned white. After all, the Aino, deer, and butterfly tribes have been friends for generations, and Akimichi Ryusuke is also his elder. They spent a lot of time together when they were young and have a very good relationship. But he quickly suppressed this anger. After calming down for a moment, he calculated the time, and then a mysterious smile appeared on his face. "Although you are strong, your brain is not good. Do you think we care about you?" Hearing this, Yinjiao frowned. "What do you mean?" He had a bad feeling in his heart. This confident look really annoyed him. "Haha, guess what?" Narashikachi said with his hands spread out, trying to suspense people. Veins bulged on Yinjiao's forehead. It had been a long time since anyone had spoken to him like this. Just as he was thinking about how to kill Narashikachi, suddenly a Konoha ninja came here to report, "Master Shikachi, the Raikage is leading his troops here." Upon hearing the news, Narashika's eyes lit up and he said meaningfully, "Finally here, we've been waiting for so long. Death to the Riddler." Yinjiao grabbed his hair in a frenzy. Although he was smart, he was like a baby in front of Narashikachi. "I have absolutely no idea, no clue at all." But thinking is not what Yinjiao is good at. Since he can't think of it, he won't think about it. He looked at the 5 people in front of him fiercely and said, "Haha, that Raikage guy is coming. I think you are going to die here." Narashikazu stroked his chin, raised his eyebrows and shook his head. "Silverhorn, are you so confident?" he said, as if as a reminder. "Look around you, is there anything wrong?" Yinjiao's face paused and he subconsciously looked around. His troops suffered few casualties during this period, with only a few deaths. However, Konoha's ninjas suffered a lot of damage, and it seemed that there were almost no people left. "Wrong number of people. That's the number of people." Yinjiao suddenly realized what was happening and looked horrified seeing the sudden change in his expression. Narashikachi smiled even more. "It seems that you finally realized something was wrong. We have been preparing for a long time before we can let you go." At this moment, without Narashikachi's explanation, Jinkoku broke out in a cold sweat and felt extremely terrified. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55, Flying Thunder God Kune, Fang arrives on the battlefield. "Damn it, you're playing tricks on me." Yinjiao looked at them ferociously. Narashikachi shrugged. "I can't bear the blame. Don't play it too easy on you. If you had stayed here, we would have been in a very passive position. Thanks to you, verbal attack was very effective." Yinjiao's eyes were red, like a wolf selecting its prey, baring its teeth and preparing to bite. But suddenly, Yinjiao calmed down and said coldly, "Even if you fall into the trap, the gap in strength between the two sides is not something you can compare. Although I don't like that guy Raikage, I have to admit that his strength is above ours. Do you think you can defeat him by yourself? Although Kinkaku and Jinkaku are very powerful, they still don't dare to confront the Raikage head-on because they are not as strong as him. Even if two of them attacked together, they would still be slightly inferior, otherwise, the Raikage would be theirs. Narashikachi chuckled, seeming to agree with what he said. But not worried at all. Of course we can't stop the Raikage, but that doesn't mean there's no one. While they were talking, the troops led by AI were attacked by the Konoha ninjas who had been lying in ambush for a long time. With the advantage of being in a dominant position, they released wind and fire ninjutsu crosswise, causing great casualties to the hidden cloud village. Lord Raikage, we've been ambushed. AI's face was extremely gloomy. How could he not know at this moment that this was a trap? Using Kinkaku and Jinkaku as bait to lure them into Konoha's encirclement was the goal right now. This terrain advantage is difficult to break through. He can protect himself, but it is different for others. The wind and fire ninjutsu attacked from both sides, and the retreat was cut off. If the troops forced their way through, there would be heavy casualties, so AI didn't dare to take the risk. In an instant, AI gave a decisive order and roared to the sky. His voice was like a loud bell, echoing in everyone's ears. Everyone, charge forward. Use Earth Escape to create a wall of earth to cover your bodies, and be careful to dodge. The military qualities of the hidden cloud ninja were fully demonstrated at this moment. The senior ninjas tacitly released the earth-style ninjutsu to create a precious opportunity for the middle and lower ninjas to survive. The orders were strictly enforced, which made the Konoha ninjas occupying both sides sigh. With such execution, the losses in Kumagakure dropped sharply. Most of them were Jonin, and there were no casualties among the Jonin except for some who were in a mess. However, AI did not feel any joy. Instead, his killing intention was leaked. He looked up and looked deeply at the Konoha ninjas on both sides. His gaze was so cold, like a 1,000-year-old icy pond, that the Konoha ninjas all swallowed their saliva. And AI brought a total of 3,000 people and left 1,000 as guards. After this incident, the army directly lost 1,000 people, and 1,000 were injured before the battle. How could AI accept this? But what's even more infuriating is that all of this could have been avoided. If it weren't for Jinjiao and Yunjiao acting recklessly and disobeying orders, none of this would have happened at this time. AI's dissatisfaction and anger towards Jinjiao and Yunjiao had reached its peak. Lord Raikage, what should we do now? Asked an elite Jonin from the hidden cloud village. AI looked at the battle in the Konoha camp ahead with cold eyes and said murderously, of course, it's to avenge our dead brothers. We must make Konoha pay for its blood debt with blood. AI's words were sonorous and powerful, and extremely mobilizing, which instantly boosted the morale of Yunin. His eyes were filled with hatred and anger. Eye for eye, eye for eye. The hidden cloud ninjas were all excited, and each of them was as excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. A strong desire to fight filled everyone's heart. AI rushed into the camp first. His eyes were fierce. Lightning surged around him, and turned into a beam of lightning that shuttled between the ninjas. Nourished just like the god of death, reaping lives one after another. AI vented his anger wantonly, and his strength at the peak of the shadow level was fully displayed at this moment. Even an elite Jonin would be killed in one blow once someone gets close to him. He has no ability to resist. This is the second Raikage, devil. He is the devil. Some ninjas were frightened by such a ferocious scene and murmured. Such movement attracted the attention of Sarutobi Hiruzen and the other two. After a fierce fight, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo were both exhausted. With swollen and sore muscles, Jinjiao's body was much tougher than the two men had imagined, and the attacks on him were like a dragonfly skimming the water. Instead, the powerful recoil force caused pain in the arms of both of them. Your doom has come. Once the Raikage arrives, he will be like a wolf or a flock of sheep. You won't even have a chance. Jinjiao laughed out loud as he looked at AI's powerful appearance, but as he laughed, Jinjiao frowned because the two people in front of him had calm expressions. Could there be reinforcements? But that's impossible. Just when they were full of doubts, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo looked at each other and exchanged glances. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the time has come. Danzo, well, it should come to an end. The communication was completed in just a few seconds, and Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately took out a kunai. Jinjiao's eyes narrowed. The kunai was engraved with a spell, which was different from ordinary ones. Just as his brain was working, Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his wrist and the kunai shot out towards the Raikage, making a sound of breaking through the air. Jinjiao understood what he meant instantly and looked in the direction of AI with white eyes. That is, AI used his hand as a knife, with lightning flowing in his palm. Every time he swung it, a life was lost, but the anger in his heart had not subsided yet. After easily defeating another Konoha Jonin, he continued to aim at the next target. Suddenly, a kunai attacked, but AI didn't care. After sensing the trajectory of the kunai, he tilted his head slightly so that he could avoid it. Everything happened just as he expected. The kunai brushed past his hair and fell to the ground. AI took a quick glance and didn't pay any attention to it. It was just a kunai and not a threat at all. He swept his scrutinizing eyes over the ninjas of Konoha as if he was selecting merchandise. In the end, Eli ignored them and set his sights on Sarutobi Hirozen. Kid, it was you who threw the kunai just now, but your accuracy was not good enough. AI grinned, revealing 2 rows of white teeth. So, are you ready to accept death? AI then said calmly. As if stating an established fact, Sarutobi Hirozen was not afraid, but smiled and said, I can't bear the appreciation of senior Hokage. Although I am not strong enough, it doesn't mean that Konoha has no one. He looked very relaxed, and on a battlefield where lives were being lost at every second, he showed an extremely carefree smile. This made AI look puzzled. This ease was not fake, so, at this moment, the mark on the kunai stuck in the ground was triggered, and a figure appeared instantly silently, without any ripples, as if it didn't exist. When Sarutobi Hirozen saw this, he felt relieved and the tension in his heart suddenly relaxed. It's up to you, Zio Feng. Chapter 56, Realm of Time? Sealed. The Flying Thunder God mark was obtained by Tobirama from Hoshino Kaede, and Tobirama was supposed to come here in person, but he had to do that. Now Konoha was surrounded by enemies, and he had to do all the overall planning himself. Not even a second less. Tobirama won't move unless it's absolutely necessary. It just so happened that a guy named Hoshino Kaede appeared, and his strength was no worse than his, so he was the one who came over in the end. AI took a few steps forward, lightning flashed, and locked onto Sarutobi Hirozen. Just as he was about to attack, he suddenly felt a chill on his back and a sense of crisis rushed into his heart. Years of ninja instincts caused him to subconsciously tilt his body slightly. Boom! A crescent-shaped slash swept across AI's body and went straight into the ground, forming a gully dozens of meters deep. Looking at such destructive power, a sense of palpitation rose in AI's heart. He turned his head suddenly, but then his expression became strange because the person in front of him was a child, whose height was about as high as his chest. Zingai Feng's face was gloomy. He could probably understand the meaning of that look, but what else could he do? The power of time made his body grow very slowly. Although he was 13 years old, at first glance he looked only a little over 10 years old. Are you Zingai Feng? AI asked in a deep voice, with a strange look flashing across his face. But there was no time to think too much on the battlefield. Hoshino Kaede raised an eyebrow. I didn't expect that the Hokage would remember my name. Tisk. AI snorted coldly, his eyes fixed, and said, haha, who doesn't know that he is the disciple of the first generation of Hokage? Alice, again, Zingai Feng said in distress. Everyone who saw him would say this. He himself is always ignored, as if he were some kind of accessory, but now is not the time for small talk. Hokage, your troops seem to be in trouble. Aren't you worried? The Hokage is indeed brave, and no one in Konoha can stop him, but everyone has their limits. Hearing this, AI rubbed his fists, and said with a flash of lightning, haha, as long as I get rid of you, everything will be solved. Suffer to death. AI turned into a flash of lightning and appeared in front of Zingai Feng in the blink of an eye. He punched out as if to crush him. Zingai Feng's eyes were indifferent, and he disappeared from AI's sight the next second. What? AI was stunned for a moment, but then his face turned painful. Puff. Blood drops scattered into the sky, leaving a deep blood mark on AI's back. The figure of Hoshino Kaede then appeared, holding a knife in one hand, with blood flowing from the blade and dripping onto the ground. Is this the bloodline limit of space and time? It is indeed mysterious. AI's eyes were solemn. He thought he was cautious enough, but he still fell into the trap. The situation just now was no longer something that could be caught up with simply by speed. Countermeasures quickly emerged in my mind, but in the face of absolute speed, they were useless. Pressure surged in his heart, but AI would never give up, because he was the Hokage of the Hidden Cloud Village. He was the Hokage of one of the 5 great nations. Thunder release, lightning strike armor, AI shouted in his heart, and lightning and thunder ran rampant all over his body. It wanders all over the body, vaguely outlining the shape of a suit of armor. If he didn't have a strong body, he would have died from this powerful lightning. Only the Hidden Cloud Village could be so crazy as to attract lightning. Although it is crazy, it will bring about powerful strength in return. Come again, AI shouted, and his speed reached an incredible level. While wearing thunder armor, everyone just felt a flash before their eyes and could not see anything. As expected, he is the man who created the ninja taijutsu of the Hidden Cloud Village. He is truly extraordinary. There was excitement in Hoshino Kaede's eyes. The blood seemed to be boiling, like boiling water. The strong are always admired, and AI's strength should not be underestimated. With the help of the thunder armor, AI rushed towards Zingai Feng like a meteor, and the violent lightning caused the rocks on the ground to shatter. Hurry up, faster! Hoshino Kaede's eyes shone with radiance, and the eyes of time opened. The power of time blesses himself. His speed is instantly amplified, and his body is like Willow Catkins, light and flexible. Super speed, Zingai Feng shouted in a low voice, and his figure instantly disappeared from the spot, leaving behind a faint afterimage. The two figures crossed each other in midair, bringing out waves of impact and sword flashes. AI's fists fell like heavy rain, but were all dodged by lingering in the gap. Zingai Feng seized the subtle moment, swung a sword and slashed, hitting AI's armor. There was a sound like metal, and the knife light slashed on it, making a buzzing sound, and its defensive power was evident. The battle was in a stalemate, and it seemed like the two sides were on equal terms, with neither side able to do anything to the other. But AI looked anxious, because he knew that it would be disadvantageous for him to continue wasting time. The longer time goes on, the situation will slowly tilt towards Zingai Feng. We can't continue to be in a stalemate, AI thought secretly. His eyes darkened. His chakra became active, and the blue lightning suddenly changed color. It was gradually replaced by a thick, dull dark color. Zingai Feng frowned. He could feel the power of the black lightning. Just by looking at it, it seems that AI intends to decide the outcome. With one move, black thunder crackled all over his body, like firecrackers, but the power was completely different under AI's deliberate guidance. The originally disordered black thunder gradually took shape, and a tiger roar resounded throughout the battlefield. Oh my god! What is this? What a terrifying ninjutsu! Just looking at it makes my eyes sore. Lord Raikage will win. Lord Raikage will win, come on. Master Hoshino. Defeat the Raikage. The confrontation between the two sides' strongest forces would naturally attract the attention of the ninjas on both sides, and they would all cheer for their own side. All the people who were confronting Jinjiao and Yunjiao stopped and turned their attention to the duel between the two. This Raikage guy has a trick up his sleeve. Jingoku's face looked extremely ugly. If he faced this oppressive feeling head-on, he might not be able to withstand even one move. Even Jinjiao, who had the hottest temper, fell into rare silence. It was obvious that the Raikage's strength had put a huge gap between them. Suddenly, the two of them simultaneously recalled what AI had said to them in the camp before. I couldn't help but shudder. My face looked scared, and I swallowed. This should be called a forbidden technique, Danzo said with fear in his eyes. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head. No, that should only be an A-level ninjutsu, a little short of the S-level forbidden technique. He is proficient in the 5 elements of ninjutsu and has higher vision than others. Although the sound of the black thunder was huge, it was not enough to reach the level of a forbidden technique. Narashikechi muttered to himself, the strength of the Raikage is beyond my expectations. Then he turned his gaze to look at Zingai Feng. His expression paused, and he said with a smile, but facing Master Zingai, it's still a little bit lacking. Zingai Feng's face was calm, and he looked nonchalant. Facing AI's full strength, he just smiled faintly. A word came out of his mouth slowly. The realm of time? The 10 directions are forbidden. Chapter 57, Victory. The road is long and difficult. The voice was clearly very soft, but it echoed in everyone's ears, and their hearts were instantly shaken. In an instant, everyone's pupils suddenly shrank, and visible ripples spread out. Zingai Feng slowly raised his hand and then gently clenched it. Tick tick tick. The crisp alarm sounded, and a huge clock shadow appeared behind Zingai Feng. A sense of simplicity and vicissitude suddenly arose in everyone's heart. The process only takes a few seconds. Suddenly, AI's unrivaled aura suddenly stagnated, and his face suddenly became gloomy. Chakra was running wildly in the body, and the charged Thunder Tiger suddenly disappeared without a trace. Not only that, the ninjas of Kumagakure suddenly found that they could not perform ninjutsu. What's going on? My chakra is out of control. Me too. The jutsu I just completed suddenly dissipated. What the hell? What's going on? The hidden cloud ninja was thrown into disarray by the sudden situation, and his face looked extremely panicked. His morale immediately dropped several levels, and his original unstoppable momentum was completely shattered. A shadow lingered in everyone's heart. Danzo was confused by the situation and quickly asked Sarutobi Hiruzen, what happened to Kumagakure? The chakra has become unusually active. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought for a moment, looked at Hoshino Kaede, and guessed, maybe, it was Zingai Feng who did it. Narashikechi's eyes flickered like a light bulb, and he said in surprise, what a strange ability. This is a fatal blow to the ninja. He instantly figured out the reason why the hidden cloud village couldn't use ninjutsu. Chakra is the foundation of ninjutsu, and its importance is self-evident. In order to perform ninjutsu, one needs to have a certain degree of control over chakra. Otherwise the ninjutsu will get out of control. Some basic ninjutsu do not require high skills, but for advanced ninjutsu, chakra control needs to reach a certain level. It was obvious that the chakra of the hidden cloud ninjas was fluctuating abnormally, making their ninjutsu ineffective. AI's face was so gloomy that it seemed as if water was about to drip out. And at the same time he felt deeply powerless. Being unable to perform ninjutsu is a fatal blow to a ninja. Although physical skills can still be used, if a ninja loses his ninjutsu, can he still be called a ninja? Zingai Feng smiled and said, "Rikage, do you still have the confidence to defeat me now?" At the same time, he was very satisfied with his masterpiece. Within the realm of time, he has absolute control over time. The enemy will be suppressed and the chakra will be disordered, which is caused by him. However, the scope is not large and the duration is not long. With the current strength, maintaining it for half an hour is already the limit. Hoshino Fen was not dissatisfied. After all, this feeling of absolute control over time could not be used casually. If you can have half an hour, just smile secretly. AI looked at the miserable-looking Kumagakure ninjas around him and sighed heavily. Morale was completely destroyed, and Feng Zingai was like the last straw that broke the camel's back, and all hope was cut off. "You win." AI closed his eyes, smiled bitterly and said slowly, "The outcome was already decided and there was no way to change it." For the first time, he felt helpless. Even if the second Hokage came in person, he couldn't compare to the pressure brought to him by the person in front of him. He who knows the times is a hero. If he does not surrender, Union will suffer even greater losses, which is not worth it. As the Raikage, he does have some vision, but there is a saying, good words can't persuade a damned ghost. The Raikage has already admitted defeat, but some people disagree. The radical Kinkaku was filled with rage, his eyes wide open, as he rebuked the Raikage. "There has never been any talk of surrender in my Kumagakure." His voice became sharp due to excessive excitement, but the decisiveness in his tone did not diminish in the slightest. "I can die in battle, but I will never surrender." Some of the fierce fighting Union raised their heads when they heard this, and a hint of fighting spirit flashed in their eyes again. AI shouted angrily, "That's enough. I am the Raikage. It's not your turn to call the shots in the hidden cloud village, not to mention, this defeat is the fault of both of you. What qualifications do you have to say such things?" As he spoke, a hint of murderous intent flashed in AI's eyes, and it fell directly on Jinjiao. If it weren't for these two idiots' reckless behavior, the situation in Kumagakure wouldn't have reached its current state. Jinjiao's face turned red, and he couldn't utter a word. "But if you think he is giving in, you are wrong." Jinjiao does not argue with AI verbally, but uses actions to prove his determination. The tailed beast's coat wrapped his whole body, Golden Horn's eyes turned scarlet, and he became manic. When everyone was relaxed, he immediately pounced on Zingai Feng, looking for death. Zingai Feng narrowed his eyes, anger surging in his heart, but I saw Zingai Feng standing in front of him with a sword in hand. The power of time attached to the blade, making it shine and emitting strange fluctuations. Then he gently swung towards Jinjiao, and a wave of sword slashed through the air. Instantly a blade beam with a width of more than 10 meters stood between heaven and earth, and there was a scream, and an arm lay quietly on the ground. Jinjiao fell to the ground with a pale face, covering his left shoulder with his right hand, his face distorted and in pain. "You are indeed a brainless person," Zingai Feng said coldly. "Brother." Jinjiao's eyes were red with anger, and he flashed to Jinjiao's side. The left arm was cut cleanly, with a smooth, neat cut surface. It can be seen how sharp the blade is, but unfortunately, no matter how good the blade is, it cannot withstand the force of time. With just a simple swing of the knife, cracks appeared on the blade, like a spider web. With a snap, the ninja sword that had been with him for many years shattered into pieces, leaving only the handle. Hoshino Kaede sighed softly, poured away the fragments, and then looked at the Raikage. "For the rest of the matter, you discuss it with Hiruzen. Keep an eye on Kinkaku. I won't hold back next time." I lowered his eyes, still thinking about the scene just now. If it were him, could he stop it? The question was deeply engraved in his mind. Without an answer he shook his head, hiding his thoughts in his heart, then looked at Jinjiao and said coldly, "When we get back, wait and see how I deal with you. Everyone, withdraw." At one command, all the Union retreated and left. "How happy you are when you come, how depressed you will be when you leave. There is no crying in war, only the losers licking their wounds silently." Hiruzen, are you just going to let them go like that? Although he had won a great victory, Danzo was still dissatisfied. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Hoshino Kaede and sighed, "Forget it, Danzo, it doesn't matter whether you leave or not. Kumagakure is seriously injured, and with Zaya Feng here, what kind of trouble do you think they can cause? Then it's a matter of negotiation. Konoha can't push people too hard right now." Do you understand? But, Danzo wanted to say something, with an unwilling look on his face, but he knew in his heart that now was not a good time, so he had to give up. Feng Zingao looked at the mess in the camp, with broken limbs everywhere and corpses piled up like mountains. The dark red blood gathered into a small stream, and he couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Is this war? The road ahead is long and difficult. The road ahead is long and difficult. Chapter 58, The First Great Ninja War, End. The day after Kumagakure retreated, the news spread throughout the ninja world. The entire ninja world was shocked. The second Raikage was defeated, and the Hidden Cloud Village suffered heavy losses. The most eye-catching person in this battle was Hoshino Kaede, who used the power of time to beat the Raikage without any chance of fighting back. Konoha's great victory greatly boosted everyone's morale. Senju Tobirama decisively gave the order to withdraw half of the northern ninjas and transfer them to the defense lines of Kurigakure and Iwagakure at the same time. Kumagakure sent people to negotiate. Sarutobi Hiruzen passed the news back to Konoha, and after much deliberation, Senju Tobirama decided to come in person to sign the agreement, but Kid Hoshino did not choose to leave and stayed in the Konoha camp. A month later, Tobirama arrived at the camp. The Konoha ninjas cheered and warmly welcomed Tobirama's arrival. Hoshino Kaede clicked his tongue and said, "This guy is quite popular." Tobirama nodded to everyone with an expressionless face. His cold look not only did not extinguish everyone's enthusiasm, but instead added fuel to the fire. After some refusals, they came to the main tent, where Tobirama sat in the first seat, followed by Hoshino Kaede. "You did a great job this time. There are no hidden dangers in Union. I would like to thank you all." As he spoke, Tobirama stood up and bowed to everyone with a very sincere attitude. Zingai Feng secretly admired. "This is a brilliant move. It not only appeases everyone, but also increases my prestige." "Hokage, you are too polite. This is what we should do." Sarutobi Hiruzen did not call him teacher, but called him Hokage. One should be careful in important occasions. As soon as Sarutobi Hiruzen said this, everyone else agreed, except Hoshino Kaede. Tobirama smiled slightly and continued, "The peace talks between Kumagakure and Konoha are very important to Konoha. Everyone should stay alert and not relax until the matter is settled." "Yes," everyone nodded with serious expressions. A few days later, the top leaders of both sides arrived. The Raikage looked at Hoshino Kaede with complicated eyes, sighed, and then took out the peace agreement. "You guys in Konoha are full of geniuses." Tobirama smiled and said, "Haha, the same goes for Kumagakure." Tobirama was very polite and in a good mood, and he spoke polite words without hesitation, not noticing Kumagakure's face that looked like the bottom of a pot. Looking at the contents of the agreement, Tobirama smiled. "The content of the agreement is very beneficial to Konoha, and the Raikage is flexible." Hoshino Feng looked around and asked the Raikage, "Where are Kinkoku and Jinkoku? Why didn't they come?" Ai's eyelids twitched, and she forced a smile and responded, "They were not feeling well, so they didn't come. That reason is, well, powerful." Hoshino Feng silently mourned for the two people for a second. Considering the Raikage's temper, it was estimated that the two people might not be in good condition now, but on second thought, it seemed like he saved the Raikage's life. If the original development had gone according to plan, Kinkoku and Jinkoku would have rebelled at the peace ceremony and killed the Raikage. Now with the intervention of Hoshino Kaede, the two of them were not present, which indirectly helped the Raikage. So, did he lose money or gain money? "Originally, I stayed here for Tobirama. But now it seems that I have saved the Raikage. By the way, I can only say that fortune and misfortune go hand in hand. There was no problem with the agreement." After both parties signed it, Tobirama breathed a sigh of relief. The matter of Kumagakure was settled, one of the hidden dangers was eliminated, and the burden on his shoulders was immediately lightened a lot. The two sides talked hypocritically for a while and then left. "Now that it's settled, I'll go back to Konoha first," Hoshino Kaede said to Tobirama. Tobirama thought about it, then nodded. After getting the answer, Zingai Feng's figure suddenly disappeared, like an invisible wind, coming and going freely. A hint of envy flashed across Tobirama's eyes, but it disappeared in an instant, and he quickly adjusted his state. After staying for a while and dealing with the border matters, Tobirama and everyone else returned to the village. The news of the alliance between Konoha and Kumagakure also spread throughout the ninja world, causing an uproar in an instant. Kurigakure and Iwagakure were suddenly plunged into a tense atmosphere. This means that the pressure from the north has completely dissipated, and Konoha can free up its hands to deal with them. This is undoubtedly bad news. The second generation Hokage, Wu Wei, was cautious and strategic. Originally, the Kurigakure and Iwagakure had joined forces and had acquired a large amount of resources. Wu had already thought about retreating, and planned to quit while he was ahead and develop with the help of the plundered resources. However, Unable to resist human greed and the opposition from the second Mizukage, he had no choice but to continue plundering resources. However, the situation is changing rapidly, and the peace talks with Union have put them under increasing pressure. The advancement speed stagnated and Konoha's reinforcements made it difficult for them to move forward. This situation continued until the 14th year of Konoha. When Iwagakure and Kurigakure were blocked outside and unable to move forward, there is no friendship between countries, only interests. When resources cannot satisfy their appetite, conflicts break out due to a long period of lack of resources. The alliance between Kurigakure and Iwagakure no longer seems so solid, and there are constant complaints from the lower levels. Tobirama saw this with a sharp eye, and he used a little trick to magnify the conflict in an instant. The fragile alliance was broken up, Kurigakure and Iwagakure fought each other, and there were even casualties on both sides. Tobirama was overjoyed and took decisive action. Leading 6 disciples to actively seek battle, Konoha is worthy of being the #1 ninja village in the ninja world. Even when fighting 1 against 2, it seems to be at ease. Kurigakure and Iwagakure were defeated step by step, and the land they occupied was almost taken back by Konoha. It can be said that all the efforts made by Kurigakure and Iwagakure during this period of time have been in vain. The second Mizukage was furious. He believed that if Iwagakure had not broken its promise, the situation would not have come to this point. He immediately turned the gun around and vented his anger at Iwagakure. The scene was in chaos. After Tobirama received the news, he kept his troops on hold and waited for developments. 1 day later, the reconnaissance ninja brought in incredible news. The second generation Mizukage and the second generation Tsuchikage died together. Both sides suffered heavy losses and have withdrawn from the territory of the Fire Country. The war is over. After hearing this, Tobirama breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. Both Kurigakure and Iwagakure were severely damaged and lost a capital to fight against Konoha. This also marks the end of the First Ninja War. Teacher, we won, Sarutobi Hirozen said excitedly. The war brought too many tragic scenes and countless people died in it. After fighting for more than a year, everyone is exhausted both physically and mentally, and everyone wants to end this damn war as soon as possible. Now, Iwagakure and Kurigakure have evacuated, and Konoha has won this war. It's not over yet. There are still many things to deal with. Tobirama rubbed his brows and shook his head. Leave some people behind and go back to Konoha first. It wasn't easy for us to win this war. Comfort the families of the fallen ninjas. By the way, let that kid Guji follow Hoshino Kaede. Before leaving, Tobirama suddenly said something, showing concern for Jinan. Yes, although he didn't know how powerful it was, Sarutobi Hirozen still answered. Chapter 59, Encounter with Matai. The war was over, and Konoha was like a holiday, with happy smiles on everyone's faces, and families visiting each other to share their joy with others. Except for the Sand Village, the other 3 countries that besieged Konoha were all defeated by Konoha. This not only greatly boosted the confidence of the villagers, but also attracted a large number of businessmen to invest in Konoha. It can be said that he gained both fame and profit. Ninja school, get out of classes dismissed. As the teacher's words fell, there was a commotion in the school, and a crowd appeared from nothing in just a few seconds. Now 6 years old, Hatake Tsukumo came to the ninja school at the request of his father. But how could he, who had gone through several years of devilish training, sit quietly in the classroom and listen to those basic knowledge? So he wanted to ask his brother to help him talk, but unexpectedly, Zingai Feng chuckled and said something to him. Tsukumo, life is short, and there are only a few years of relaxing time. Why don't you enjoy it? Perhaps I can meet like-minded partners at school. Hatake Tsukumo turned his head away, extremely unwilling. No matter how mature he was mentally now, he was still a child. I didn't understand the deeper meaning behind Hoshino Kaede's words and just wanted to escape from that boring school as soon as possible. Seeing this, Zingai Feng shook his head helplessly, then thought for a moment and said, since you insist so much, then fine, I can talk to Uncle Yixin, but I don't know if he agrees or not. Hatake Tsukumo walked with his head down, recalling in his mind what his brother had said to him. I don't know if it will work. After all, my father is very serious, and it may not be easy to get him to give in. Hey, come on, Dai, you can do it, keep going. As I was walking, I suddenly heard a whisper in my ears. Hatake Tsukumo looked up and saw a kid shorter than him running forward with sweat all over his forehead. When I got closer, I saw that her face was red, as if she was in a steamer, but even so, she still had no intention of stopping. Hatake Tsukumo's pupils shrank and he was secretly shocked. This guy, it looked like he had reached his limit, but he just gritted his teeth and held on. I don't know how long he ran. But what is certain is that this kind of training will definitely leave hidden diseases in his body. Although Hatake Tsukumo's training was harsh, there was Kid Hoshino who was there to massage him and relax his muscles at all times, using various expensive medicinal herbs in rotation. These alone are not something that ordinary people can possess. Just as I was secretly surprised, I heard the child mumbling to himself again, "Hurry up, hurry up. If you don't arrive on time, you will have to practice 50 more laps." Hatake Tsukumo's emotions were in turmoil as he listened to this. Another 50 laps? I'm afraid I'll die from practicing. Even if my brother is not so cruel, he will stop immediately when his body reaches the limit. But now it was clear that no one had ever told him about the consequences of overtraining. Hatake Tsukumo couldn't help but said, "That's enough. If you keep practicing, your body won't be able to take it." Matai was stunned for a moment, looked around, and finally confirmed that he was talking to him. Seeing this, Hatake Tsukumo was speechless. "Is there anyone else? I'm just talking to you. Don't you have an adult watching you at home? If you keep practicing like this, you'll be useless." Upon hearing this, Matai suddenly became depressed and said in a mosquito-like voice, I don't have parents. Fortunately, Tsukumo has good hearing, otherwise he would be hard of hearing. I'm sorry." All the words finally turned into an apology, but Matai bared his teeth, gave a thumbs up in a very cheerful and sunny manner, and said, "It's okay, I'm used to it. I've been doing this kind of training for 2 years. 2 years? Hatake Tsukumo was shocked by his words. At this level of intensity, it would be a good thing for a ninja with enough perseverance to last for a few months, but Matai in front of me, who looks only about 4 or 5 years old, has actually persisted for 2 years. Hatake Tsukumo's eyes suddenly changed. What kind of perseverance could allow him to persist until now? The curiosity in his heart turned into pressure, and he even felt a sense of crisis. But then, Matai suddenly looked depressed and said, "It's a pity that I can't learn ninjutsu. I can only practice taijutsu. Otherwise, I won't be the last one." Hatake Tsukumo shook his head and said with an expression of approval, "My brother said that reaching the peak of taijutsu is just as amazing." Matai's expression was moved, and he nodded firmly. "Well, I believe that day will come." Just then, the voice of Zingai Feng was heard. "Tsukumo, you are here, why don't you go back?" Hearing this familiar voice, a hint of surprise flashed in Hatake Tsukumo's eyes, and he turned around suddenly and said, "Brother, you are back." "Well, there was nothing for me to do there, so I came back." Zingai Feng walked to his side and touched his head hard. Then he looked at Matai and asked, "Who is he?" Matai's eyes lit up and he suddenly became excited. You are Master Hoshino. I heard the teacher talk about you." Hoshino Feng touched his nose guiltily. He had worked in a ninja school before, but it was just a formal position, and he had basically never been there. When I think about it this way, it seems that I am indeed a bit unfair. "My name is Matai." "Hello, Lord Hoshino." After being surprised, Matai immediately bowed and greeted him with a silly smile on his face, just like the expression of someone who saw his long-desired idol. When Zingai Feng heard this, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes, and he couldn't help but look him up and down. I thought to myself, is this the father of the blue beast? He is indeed different, and his outfit is really not flattering. The corner of Zingai Feng's mouth twitched, and he coughed a few times and said, "Hello." At this time, Shumeo suddenly said seriously, "Brother, I think school is quite interesting." Zingai Feng raised his eyebrows. "Oh? Why, you changed your mind?" He looked at Hatake Tsukumo with a playful expression, which made him blush and turn his head away angrily. "Okay, it seems you found a partner." Zingai Feng stopped teasing him and shrugged. Then he looked at Matai. An idea came to his mind, and he suggested to the two of them, "How about you two compete in physical skills to see how strong each of you is?" Compared to the rising fighting spirit in Hatake Tsukumo's eyes, Matai was much more restrained, hesitatingly said, "This is not good." Zingai Feng smiled and said, "What's wrong with that? It's normal for classmates to learn from each other. I'll take responsibility if anything goes wrong." Seeing this, Matai nodded in agreement. The corners of Zingai Feng's mouth rose slightly, and there seemed to be little stars twinkling in his eyes, bright and dazzling, and even a little expectant. "I don't know, who is better at taijutsu between Hatake Tsukumo and Matai? One was trained by him personally, and the other was Matai, who kicked and blew up the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mystic Disc. Something interesting is going to happen." Chapter 60 Gift, 8 Techniques of Escape. The two of them found an open space and started fighting. Although they are children, their preparation posture is very standard, and they are all observing the other party. The two looked at each other for a while, then rushed towards each other at an extremely fast speed. After instantly approaching the opponent, Hatake Tsukumo took the lead and threw a punch, aiming at Might Eye's waist. Might Eye took a step back, dodged it, then stepped forward and gave a swift kick. Bang! A dull sound was heard, and Hatake Tsukumo's expression changed slightly. The pain in his arm made him realize how powerful Might Eye was. When one move failed, Might Eye attacked continuously. His attacks were swift and powerful like a tiger, and each move was accompanied by a breeze. However, Hatake Tsukumo was swift and agile, and he accurately judged the landing point of the moves, allowing him to easily avoid it. The two men's attacks continued to collide with each other, making a dull sound. The fight ended in a stalemate and both sides were injured. Zingai Feng stroked his chin and sighed. Amazing. I know Tsukumo's strength very well, but even so, he still couldn't get even a little advantage. In terms of endurance alone, Might Eye is far ahead of his peers, and his strength is also among the best. Even as he was praising in his heart, Hatake Tsukumo was secretly anxious, and from time to time his eyes glanced at Hoshino Kaede, who was watching the battle on the side. This was the first time he had such a fierce fight with his peers, and the most important thing was that his brother was also here. He didn't want to embarrass himself in front of his brother. Hatake Tsukumo's eyes changed, and his fists became more and more fierce, constantly testing Might Eye, trying to find a chance to win from it. He stared at him closely. Finally, Hatake Tsukumo's eyes lit up. He seized the opportunity when Might Eye was attacking and stepped sideways, catching Might Eye off guard and making him lose his balance. Might Eye secretly thought that something was wrong, but years of training allowed him to react quickly. He immediately adjusted his posture and tried to steady his body, but Hatake Tsukumo would never give him this chance. I saw Hatake Tsukumo close in an instant and punched Might Eye hard in the stomach. The punch was so powerful that Might Eye's face changed drastically and he groaned in pain. It seemed as if gastric juice was vomiting out of my mouth, and I couldn't help but squat down, holding my stomach. That's enough. Zingai Feng stopped in time after hearing this. Hatake Tsukumo immediately stepped forward and asked with concern, "Dai, are you okay?" Might Eye grinned, revealing 2 rows of white teeth, and said with a strong smile, "This little pain is nothing, it's far worse than my training." Upon hearing this, Hatake Tsukumo was deeply touched, and then he reached out and pulled him up. As the battle went on, the two of them became closer. "Dai, your future achievements will definitely not be less than Tsukumo's." Hoshino Kaede stepped forward and said with certainty, his eyes full of admiration for Might Eye. It is said that a dragon gives birth to a dragon, a phoenix gives birth to a phoenix, and a mouse's son will dig holes. His son is not simple either. He almost kicked the opponent out with one kick. It can only be said that this family has reached the pinnacle in physical skills. Even the Hyuga clan has to admit defeat in terms of physical skills, and there is no comparison at all. Hearing his idol's affirmation, Might Eye blushed and scratched his head innocently. "However, I still need to say what I need to say. The intensity of your training far exceeds what your body can bear." Upon hearing this, Might Eye hesitated for a moment, but still said, "But, if I don't do this, I won't be able to keep up with the others." Zingai Feng was suddenly speechless, and all the words he had been preparing to say were stuck in his throat. Yes, Might Eye's talent in ninjutsu is almost non-existent, and he has no other way out except to practice physical skills desperately. However, physical skills require a lot of effort to hone, and there is no guarantee of any results. Therefore, for a ninja, it is enough to practice physical skills to a certain level, and there is no need to practice hard. Zingai Feng sighed and said, "Then let Shumeo supervise you from now on. Also, I will find medicinal herbs to help you get rid of the hidden disease in your body." Might Eye couldn't help but exclaimed in confusion, but Hatake Tsukumo seemed much calmer and nodded. "That's a good idea." Might Eye scratched his head embarrassedly. "This is too troublesome, and I have no money." As an orphan, he had no extra money except for the meager pension in this era. Being able to eat enough and survive is already very good. Eating meat once a month is already a luxury. Zingai Feng thought about it, and with a hint of coaxing in his tone, he said, "It's okay, just think of it as something you owe me. Just help me with things when you grow up. Besides, I will teach you from time to time. How about that?" Might Eye was very tempted by Kaede Hoshino's conditions. As an orphan, he was very precocious and knew that this was a rare opportunity. After hesitating for a moment, he finally nodded. "Thank you, Lord Hoshino, for your training." Might Eye saluted respectfully towards Kaede Hoshino. Hoshino Feng accepted the gift with a smile and did not avoid it. Then he patted his head and said to Hatake Tsukumo, "Then Tsukumo, I'll leave Dai's matter to you." "Yes, brother, I know." Hatake Tsukumo nodded and smiled when he looked at Might Eye. Seeing this, Feng Zingai nodded secretly. The two little guys were getting along well, so all he had to do was let the situation develop on its own. Suddenly, Hoshino Kaede remembered something and said mysteriously to Might Guy, I'll give you a ninjutsu. I think it's very suitable for you. Might Guy hesitated, thinking that the ninjutsu given by Lord Hoshino must be of great value, and he was suddenly a little hesitant. Master Hoshino, this is not good. We just met, what's wrong with that? I see you have amazing bones, you're a good material. Zingai Feng waved his hand. Besides, a good chef also needs a good knife, it doesn't matter. As he said this, he handed him the scroll that he had prepared when the two were fighting. The 8 Gates Ninjutsu is an A-level ninjutsu. I think it's perfect for you, Hoshino Kaede explained. Might Guy was greatly shocked. This was an A-level ninjutsu. Even though he was still young, the value of this ninjutsu was self-evident, but Zingai Feng gave it to him just like that, and he was immediately deeply moved. I secretly vowed that after I become stronger, I will repay Lord Hoshino. Of course, Hoshino Kaede didn't know what Might Guy was thinking. After delivering the ninjutsu, Hoshino Kaede left the space to the two little guys. He left and returned home. Huh? Who are you? Why are you standing at my door? Zingai Feng saw a young man standing at the door awkwardly, as if he wanted to go in but didn't dare to. The young man was startled by the sudden words, shuddered violently, looked back, and suddenly became excited. Hello, Lord Hoshino. My name is Maruboshi Kasuke, and I am here to report in under the orders of Lord Hokage. Maruboshi Kasuke? Hiss, you are Maruboshi Kasuke. Hoshino Feng didn't react at first, but after a few seconds, he widened his eyes and kept looking at him. Chapter 61, Zingai Feng in number 039, S-Guard. Maruboshi Kasuke is a hidden boss in the future Konoha. He has the halo of a Jonin, but does all the work of a Jonin. He is one of the strongest Jonin in Konoha. Due to a mistake in command, he caused the death of his teammates. He felt extremely guilty and swore in front of the second Hokage that he would be a Jonin for life. Having said that, I actually stuck to it. He had experienced the second, third, fourth and fifth generations. If it were in his previous life, he would have been a veteran of 5 dynasties. Looking at the young face and the expression of admiration in front of him, Zingai Feng smiled and said, Guji, right? Come in and we'll talk. After the two entered the door, Zingai Feng greeted his mother and then took him to the yard. What did Tobirama ask you to come here for? Hoshino Feng made a pot of tea and handed him a cup. Maruboshi Kasuke took it with both hands and replied, Hokage-sama didn't say what to do, just asked me to follow you in the future. Really? Hoshino Feng looked at Maruboshi Kasuke meaningfully, which made cold sweat break out on his forehead. He felt as if he was being stared at by a ferocious beast and was under tremendous pressure. Is this the aura of Lord Hoshino? It is not inferior to Lord Hokage at all, forget it. Since he asked you to follow me, then follow me. Zingai Feng's gaze suddenly changed, and he said with a chuckle, from now on, you will be a member of my guard team. Hearing this, Maruboshi Kasuke responded loudly, yes, but then, a confused look appeared on his face, and he asked, isn't the guardian team only for the Hokage? How could Lord Hoshino? As he spoke, Maruboshi Kasuke hurriedly waved his hands and explained, I am not questioning Lord Hoshino, I am just a little surprised. That's it, haha. Hoshino Feng couldn't help it. Guji was quite interesting when he was a child. Don't worry, the teacher asked me to form a guard team a long time ago. That's not the exclusive domain of the Hokage. Well, at least that's the case for me. Tobirama won't care anyway. Then, Zingai Feng showed a serious face and said, however, not everyone can enter my guard team. If you can't reach the level I expect, Hoshino Kaede's tone suddenly lengthened, his smile became mysterious, and he continued, then, even if you are introduced by Tobirama, I will not acknowledge you. Do you understand? Maruboshi Kasuke was shocked by the aura, and was stunned for a while, but then nodded heavily, got it, Master Hoshino, I won't hold you back, don't be too confident, it's easy to reveal yourself, Hoshino Kaede said meaningfully. Maruboshi Kasuke pursed his lips, a painful memory deep in his heart seemed to be surging, about to break free, and a sad expression was about to fill his entire heart. Just when he was about to be overwhelmed by memories, Zingai Feng patted his shoulder and said encouragingly, Guji, you should feel guilty, but you are stuck in the memories and struggling. This is a dead end, I think they should be watching you from heaven. You should have confidence in yourself, turn guilt into motivation, and work hard to live a beautiful life. Zingai Feng's words were like a spring breeze and drizzle, warming his heart, melting the ice and snow in his heart and bringing vitality. Maruboshi Kasuke's eyes were filled with tears, and he began to cry uncontrollably. with a whimpering sound coming from his mouth. Seeing this, Zingai Feng couldn't help but sigh. Stretched out his finger and touched his forehead. Maruboshi Kosuk fell backwards heavily, tears slowly overflowing from the corners of his eyes. Go to sleep, Guji, I hope you have a good dream. Zingai Feng looked at him in a low voice and murmured. Then he looked up at the clear sky, holding the teacup, and became increasingly absorbed in the sight. Half a day later, Maruboshi Kosuk slowly woke up, opened his eyes confusedly, and was still not fully conscious for a while. Awake, Hoshino Kaede's voice suddenly sounded, and Maruboshi Kosuk then recalled what happened before. It seems that you have reconciled with yourself. Zingai Feng looked him up and down, and his complexion was obviously much better. His cheerful appearance before was obviously a disguise, as he was unwilling to show his inner self to others. He's much better now, like a completely different person. After a moment of silence, Maruboshi Kosuk saluted Hoshino Kaede again. He had a dream in which his former teammates encouraged him and comforted him over and over again. He knew that all of this was done by Zingai Feng. Hey, it's just a small favor, don't worry about it. Zingai Feng waved his hands nonchalantly. It's all my own credit that I was able to let it go. I just went with the flow. Lord Hoshino, from now on Guji will follow you until death. Maruhoshi Guji said with sincerity and determination in his eyes. Zingai Feng's face darkened a little, the corner of his mouth twitched, and he said helplessly, you, Tisk, forget it, do whatever you want, that guy Tobirama just likes to throw these messes to me. Hoshino Kaede cursed as if a huge injustice had been done to him. After cursing for a while, I felt much better and asked him, what are you going to do next? Do you have a place to go? Maruboshi Kosuk shook his head and said, I haven't thought about it yet, but I can't fall behind in my ninjutsu training. Yeah, that's true. Hoshino Kaede nodded in agreement, and then began to perform ninjutsu as usual. Speaking of which, he seems like a boy who gives money to whoever he likes. However, they are all good seedlings and the future pillars of Konoha. It's okay to give them away and it's not a loss. This is for you. The water jutsu experience that Tobirama gave me before should be very useful to you. Hoshino Feng threw it casually. Maruboshi Kosuk took it hurriedly, his mouth slightly opened, but the surprise in his eyes remained unchanged. This is the water-style escape technique of the second Hokage, known as sea-style escape technique. I will work hard and never let you down. Maruboshi Kosuk clenched his fists, fire rising in his eyes. Well, do you have a place to live? Zingai Feng suddenly asked. Maruboshi Kosuk answered, yes, it's the house my parents left behind after they passed away. I see. Zingai Feng chuckled and said, I'm going to move out later, do you want to come with me? Together? Maruboshi Kosuk was shocked. The invitation was too sudden and he was a little at a loss. Do you want to come? Zingai Feng asked again. Maruboshi Kosuk hesitated and nodded slightly. The answer was very soft, but Hoshino Kaede heard it. That's it, I'll let you know later. Hoshino Feng glanced outside the door, got up and walked out. Outside the door was still the familiar Anbu, Lord Hoshino. As soon as Hoshino Feng opened the door, a greeting came to his ears. Ever since Hoshino Kaede displayed his prowess, his strength has become known to everyone. The first time he made a move, he crushed the second-generation Raikage with his absolute strength, making him famous. The downside of being famous is that wherever you go, people will greet you. But to be honest, Zingai Feng is not too averse to this feeling and feels pretty good. No wonder some people try so hard to be famous. Hokage has convened a high-level meeting and needs you to come over. The Anbu lowered his head respectfully and knelt on one knee, the fanaticism in his eyes almost overflowing. The corner of Zingai Feng's mouth twitched, and he shuddered, his scalp tingling as he said, I know. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Post-War Issues and Warnings. After sending away the Anbu, Hoshino Feng was still feeling frightened and the corners of his mouth twitched. It's so scary, that look makes my heart chill. So this is what a fanatical fan is like? It's really informative. Guji, I'm going out for a while. After calming down, Zingai Feng turned around and shouted towards the door. After getting a response, Feng Hoshino pushed hard on his feet, jumped onto the roof and flipped back and forth. Holding a high-level meeting at this time seems to be about peace talks, Zingai Feng thought as he ran. Even though Kirigakure and Iwagakure have retreated, they cannot just let them go. Given Tobirama's strength, they will definitely bleed heavily. Who knows, Maybe they will be blackmailed to the point of being unable to recover. As he thought about it, Hoshino Feng couldn't help but laugh out loud. Now that Tobirama was not dead, everything was different. A few minutes later, Feng Hoshino came into the building and heard the rustling sound of Tobirama flipping through documents. I estimate that they are at least 1 meter high and as countless as snowflakes. Tisk, what a hard life, Zingai Feng said gloatingly after sitting down without even looking up. Tobirama replied, haha, don't worry, you will be like this in the future too. Zingai Feng staggered and almost fell to the ground. He said angrily, ahem, it's still early, it's getting late. I can still hold on for a few more years. After that, you have to go even if you don't want to. Tobirama raised his head and said seriously. Zingai Feng's eyes widened and he pointed at him, aren't you going to let your disciple take over? Disciple? Well, I had this idea before, but now, Tobirama shook his head and didn't continue. What's going on? Did this butterfly destroy Hiruzen's third Hokage? Not really. Although he didn't take charge of personnel matters in the later period, he was quite smart and capable when he first took over. Is Tobirama really going to make a one-size-fits-all decision? Hoshino Kaede looked at Tobirama with big puzzled eyes, expecting him to help her solve the problem. Why are you looking at me? Don't you want to be the boss? Tobirama said with narrowed eyes. Hoshino Kaede nodded silently. I think Hiruzen and Denzo are good. Why do you have to hold me back? Haha, Tobirama sneered. They are both excellent, but they are far inferior to you. Zingai Feng became interested and asked, I am so outstanding in front of you? I didn't expect you would ever praise others. Veins bulged on Tobirama's forehead, and his fist as big as a sandbag was ready, just about to hit him on the head. Seeing that the situation was not right, Zingai Feng immediately became serious and shook his head firmly. Forget it, don't put your mind on me. Hokage is just a title. It's of no use to me. Tobirama shook his head. I know what you are thinking, but sometimes reputation is very important. For example, after saying that, he searched through a stack of documents for a moment, took out a piece and handed it to Zingai Feng. Let's take a look at the latest information from the Anbu. Zingai Feng took it and glanced at it casually. As soon as the information passed through his mind, he frowned immediately. Is this true? How can it be false? Hiss, good boy. Hoshino Feng read all the information intently. The second-generation Raikage of the Hidden Cloud Village was ambushed and killed by Kinkaku and Jinkaku. Afterwards, the two were besieged by the Hidden Cloud ninjas and died of exhaustion. Just a short sentence revealed a huge amount of information. Zingai Feng's eyes widened, as if he could see through them. The second-generation Raikage died again, killed by Kinkaku and Jinkaku. What are you going to do? Hoshino Kaede looked up at Tobirama. What else can we do? The most important thing now is to recuperate. We can't fight a war. Tobirama is quick-witted and will not make such a low-level mistake. The second Raikage died in an unclear way. Hoshino Kaede shook his head and sighed. But it's also a good thing for Konoha. Just as he was sighing, footsteps were heard outside the door. A moment later, all 6 disciples of Tobirama arrived, as well as Naruto, who, as Konoha's military strategist, naturally had to be present as well. In Konoha today, there are only 3 people who can be considered as high-level officials: the second-generation Hokage, Uzumaki Mido, and finally Hoshino Kaede. The rest are just incidental. Even Tobirama's disciples are the same. On the one hand, their strength is not enough to intimidate everyone, and on the other hand, their status is not enough. Disciples are just disciples and have not yet stepped into the power center of Konoha. Teacher, after Sarutobi Hiruzen entered the room, he took the lead in greeting Tobirama, and the others followed closely. Hoshino Kaede glanced at Tobirama secretly, and seeing that he had no objection and agreed with it, he knew that he still liked Sarutobi Hiruzen in his heart. Seeing that everyone was present, Tobirama nodded slightly and looked at Naruto. Luai, has the peace treaty between the Hidden Mist Village and the Hidden Rock Village been delivered? As a defeated country, compensation is necessary, not to mention that it was invaded by others. Naruto nodded, took out 2 treaties, handed them to Tobirama and said, they sent someone to deliver them shortly after we were defeated. I'm afraid you're afraid that Konoha will attack you, so you want to finalize the peace talks as soon as possible. Tobirama saw through their plan at a glance and said with a sneer, yes, that's true. The losses on both the Kurigakure and Iwagakure villages are too heavy. They are no longer able to fight Konoha. Naruto smiled knowingly. It was rare to have such an opportunity to reap benefits. If he didn't slaughter them hard, he would be letting down the ninjas fighting on the front line. Lu Yi, ask for as much compensation as you can. It's best to make them feel hurt and scared. Tobirama said with a stern face after instructing Shikaichi. Tobirama turned his attention to his disciples. The cold gaze swept over him, and a chill suddenly rose from the bottom of his heart. I couldn't help but swallow my saliva and thought to myself, the teacher's murderous intention is terrifying. After a long while, Tobirama retracted his gaze and said slowly, Konoha has experienced a great war. Now is a critical moment. Everyone must do their best. I don't want anyone to slack off. The sharp gaze appeared again, falling on the hearts of each of them. Yes, teacher. X6 everyone responded loudly, and some who had something to hide broke out in cold sweat. Tobirama waved his hand and told them to go about their business for a moment. Only Tobirama and Hoshino Kaede were left in the room. Why were you so angry just now? What happened? Zingai Feng took a sip of tea and said quietly. Tobirama sighed deeply and said, my disciples have grown up and it's hard to manage them now. Haha, you also said that we have grown up and it's time to let go. Zingai Feng shook his head upon hearing this. Tobirama was silent for a moment, and finally nodded. As long as it doesn't shake the foundation of Konoha, I can tolerate it. Zingai Feng did not comment, and then said, I have established a guard team, but I am afraid you will not agree, so I will tell you. Tobirama snorted coldly, is it any use if I disagree? You still ignore me. You can't say that. At least you have to show some respect on the surface, Hoshino Feng said with a smile. Chapter 63, You Hand-Washing Izao. Haha, you still know it's in the open. If it weren't for the fact that he could escape faster than anyone else, Tobirama would definitely let him know why the flowers are so red. Zingai Feng spread his hands, put on a helpless look, winked at Tobirama and said, there's nothing I can do. I hold grudges very well. What someone did back then, I will always remember. In the last sentence, Hoshino Kaede's tone was particularly heavy, as if he wanted to eat Tobirama alive. Talking about what happened back then, Tobirama touched his nose, feeling a little guilty. After all, it was he who did something inappropriate back then. The thinking is still stuck in the Warring States period. It is indeed a bit too much to slaughter a seedling growing in the garden. Zio Feng, that thing is in the past, Tobirama explained with a blank face. Zingai Feng snorted coldly and said sarcastically, the past? My young heart was ruined by you. Do you think an apology can solve it? Tobirama's eyelids twitched, and he rubbed his brows and said, just tell me, what do you want? Don't beat around the bush, really? Zingai Feng raised his eyebrows and said doubtfully, well, you will do it anyway even if I don't agree, so it's better to just say it, Tobirama said with a headache, looking across the entire Konoha. No one would see him without respect and say hello. It just so happened that the eldest brother accepted a disciple, and his talent was surprisingly high, and his strength improved day by day. This made him very embarrassed. He couldn't hit or scold him. He was like a little ancestor. I'm glad to know. Seeing this, Zingai Feng was delighted and continued. It's nothing serious. That means you can't refuse me when I need someone from now on, and the guard team is not under your control. Tobirama asked curiously, is that all? Nothing else. Upon hearing this, Zingai Feng pretended to continue to make a request. Since you are so kind to ask, then Stop. That's it. That's all. Get out of here. Tobirama interrupted him quickly and started to drive people away. Zingai Feng curled his lips. You can stand this? You really have no patience at all. Okay, I wish you a busy day. Zingai Feng left a heartfelt blessing and then left gracefully. Tobirama, after leaving the building, Zingai Feng did not go home, but went to find the house where he lived. Thinking back on his savings, he couldn't help but grin. It's your first house in your life, so you should be happy about it, as it also means you're about to break free from the clutches of your parents. He was humming a song and his walking posture seemed extremely arrogant. We ordinary people are really happy today. Zingai Feng walked without caring about his relatives as he chose his own house. The houses in Konoha are all built at zero cost, with no construction cost at all. With Kaede Hoshino's merits, Konoha gave it to her for free, and so did many jonin. Private setting. Soon, Kaede Hoshino found a house that she liked. It was very close to the ninja school, just a few steps away. The building has 3 floors and good lighting, with windows facing the school. He was very satisfied with this, and it was also a pleasure to watch the new seedlings of Konoha. Hoshino Kaede waved towards somewhere. Swish, a figure suddenly appeared. I'll choose this one. Let's talk to Tobirama about it, Hoshino Kaede said, pointing to the house in front. Yes. The Anbu took the order without any hesitation and disappeared again after making the selection. Zingai Feng suddenly felt something was wrong and looked around. The location is perfect, and the area is great too. Hiss, could that Tobirama guy have left it there on purpose? The corners of Zingai Feng's mouth twitched wildly. After thinking about it, he realized that this was something he could do. Just as he was cursing the old fox to Birima in his heart, a childish voice came from behind him. "Hey, are you Master Hoshino?" The sudden voice interrupted Zingai Feng's thoughts. When he turned around, he saw the little guy looking at him curiously. The black hair looks very refreshing, and the young face has a hint of curiosity. A ray of sunlight shines on it, which makes people feel a little good about it. Although naughty children are annoying, well-behaved children are also lovable. "Huh? Do you know me?" When facing the cute cub, Zingai Feng was always very patient. He bent down and touched his head. "Yes, the teacher admired you very much in class and even said that you are still holding an official post at the school." Speaking of this, Zingai Feng couldn't help blushing, but it soon disappeared, and he coughed a few times and said, "Really? What's your name?" For some reason, when I saw this little guy, an inexplicable emotion arose in my heart. "My name is Utashi Zixio. Nice to meet you, sir." Upon hearing this, the little guy immediately became serious, his face stern, and then he bent down 90 degrees and saluted to Zingai Feng. "Oh, Midare Shiseo, what a nice name." Hoshino Kaede touched his chin and thought in his heart, "Midare, isn't this Hongdao's last name? Moreover, I seem to have seen this name in a novel. I remember now, he was the head of Konoha's Anbu at that time. Oh, so he met an extraordinary person, but now it seems that the famous Anbu minister is just a very cute kid." There was a clear stupidity in his eyes, as well as curiosity about the big shots. "Zio Zixio, how old are you?" Thinking of this, Zingai Feng looked at him more favorably. He has reserved this person. No one can snatch him from him, not even the Lord can. Utare Zixio said obediently. 8 years old, 3rd grade. "Do you want to follow your brother after graduation? The benefits are great." Zingai Feng couldn't wait any longer and planned to take action directly and lure the person over first, but that's a bit wishful thinking. Upon hearing this, Utare Zixio felt a little embarrassed and stammered, unable to utter a complete sentence. Zingai Feng slapped his forehead, thinking that he was a little anxious, and then smiled and said, "No need to reply so quickly, just tell me your decision before graduation." Hearing this, Utare Zixio nodded repeatedly, and then hurriedly left on the grounds that it was too late. "Tisk, little guy, now that I have my eyes on you, it won't be that easy for you to escape," Hoshino Feng said with a chuckle as he looked at Utare Zixio, who was fleeing in panic. "It just so happens that I've never been there while I'm on a job at the school, so it's good to keep an eye on the new talents in the future." When Zingai Feng thought of this, his smile became even wider, and he even seemed like a villain. "It seems that Tsukumo is also in the 1st grade. I can also see how he is doing in school. It's a win-win situation." He shook his head and turned his attention to the new house, preparing to change the style under the afterglow of the setting sun. Inside the ninja school, there are still students concentrating on training, sweating out their youth. Kid Hoshino saw Hatake Tsukumo's hard work through the window, and a gratified smile appeared on her face behind him. Matai followed closely, not slacking off for even a second. Chapter 64, Enrollment in Ninja School. Boom. On the big playground, a group of little rascals were practicing against each other. Utare Zixio knocked down his opponent with one punch, looking quite relaxed. Then I heard a large group of girls screaming and cheering for him crazily. "Wow, Zixio is so powerful. Zixio is first again. He's both pretty and talented. I found my true love. Don't look at him, he's mine. Don't snatch him from me." Utare Zixio walked off the field to rest with an expression of accustomed to it. Hoshino Kaede nodded at the side. "Not bad. Both taijutsu and ninjutsu are very comprehensive. The first place is well deserved." Hearing this, Utamashi Zixio complained, "Do you still doubt my strength?" Zingai Feng stretched out his fingers and waved them left and right. No, I just want to see how strong the others are, and take a look at yours." After saying that, without waiting for Zixio to speak, he turned around and spoke to these little ghosts. "Okay, the battle is over. I only have one evaluation in my mind for this battle." Zingai Feng's eyes suddenly became sharp, and a slightly sharp aura burst out from his body. Utare Zixio's pupils suddenly shrank, and he was shocked. Is this the strength of Lord Hoshino? After returning home that day, he, who had originally been uninterested in big shots, suddenly had an idea and asked his father. This question shocked his young mind. A disciple of the First Hokage, he crushed the Raikage in the Kumagakure battlefield and changed the situation of the war single-handedly. He is a man who stands at the pinnacle of ninja. When this series of words are applied to the same person, he suddenly shines with a dazzling light that is extremely eye-catching. I thought each generation of Konoha would be stronger than the previous one, But I didn't expect it to be so bad. I think you haven't learned anything at all. You are all no different from garbage." The crazy output made the students' faces turn red. No one wants to be called garbage. This is a matter of dignity, but when facing the people in front of them, they couldn't say a word. Most of the people in the class were civilians, and the deeds of Hoshino Kaede had already spread throughout Konoha and were known to everyone long before Zingai came to teach this class. Their parents had repeatedly warned them not to act naughty, otherwise, when they return, what awaits them is their parents' mixed doubles, giving them a complete childhood. "Teacher Hoshino, what you said is too biased." Yurei Zixio looked at his classmates shrinking their necks one by one, not daring to look at him, and then stood up and refuted in response to Zixio's words. Zingai did not reprimand him, but looked at the others and spoke angrily. "Look at you, you don't even dare to say a word. What kind of reserved ninja are you? I think you might as well go back to farming. This is not a paradise." Emotions spread out in all directions like boiling water. The young devils were full of youthful vigor and full of blood. When provoked by this, they all retorted loudly, "Teacher, you are wrong. We are not trash. Yes, I don't accept that someone is born strong. What we learn in school is the basics, which is far from what it was before." "I don't agree with what you said." Zingai looked at the excited crowd and nodded secretly. That was right. He didn't want a lifeless classroom. "What is your name?" Zingai raised the corner of his mouth and asked, pointing at a little kid next to Zixio. "My name is Moonlight Knight." Moonlight Knight straightened his back and said loudly after hearing this. Hoshino admiration grew even more. "Very good, this is the courage a boy should have." Hoshino praised Yu Guangyi's face suddenly lit up with joy, but then it collapsed again, and he only heard Zingai add another sentence. "Since you are so energetic, why don't you run around the playground? You are not allowed to stop." Yu Guangyi was instantly petrified on the spot, and only came back to his senses when Zizio tugged at the corner of his clothes. "What? You can't bear it after I just gave you a compliment? Tisk, since you're scared, forget it," Zingai said, pretending to be generous. Yu Guangyi felt that there were countless eyes staring at him from behind. His face suddenly turned red, his neck stiffened, and blood rushed to his head. He turned around, stepped on the sprint pedal and started running around the playground. "Don't look at him. Since you all said that what we taught in school are just the basics, I'll give you some difficulty." Hoshino clapped his hands, drew the attention back to himself, and then spoke sinisterly. Zixio couldn't help swallowing. A moment later, more than 40 students were squatting in the scorching sun. Not only that, appropriate weights are worn on the wrists and ankles to ensure that the body will not be injured. "Oh, tisk, eating watermelon in this weather is a wonderful thing." Not far away, Zingai held a piece of watermelon in each hand and ate it with enjoyment in front of the students. Gulp. I don't know which kid swallowed his saliva, but the sound made Hoshino smile even more. "I didn't do anything during the whole class. My leg muscles were stiff from squatting and the slightest movement caused unbearable pain." Hoshino looked at Yurei Zixio, the only player on the field. He was the only one left in the class who was still holding on. The rest of the people all collapsed to the ground, looking like they had survived a disaster. "Zixio, you're the only one left. Don't you want to take a rest?" Zingai said seductively while biting a watermelon. How insidious. Everyone had the same thought in their mind, but due to the teacher's terrifying prestige, I could only think about it silently in my heart. "No, I can still hold on." Beads of sweat rolled down his cheeks, and Yurei Zixio gritted his teeth and barely said something. "Not bad." Zingai grinned, turned around and shouted to Yu Guangyi, "Okay, little guy, stop. You're staggering here and there. Don't make any mistakes." Yu Guangyi staggered 2 steps, and after hearing what Zingai said, he fell down exhausted, lying on his back, looking at the sky. "I can't say a word, and I don't want to say anything. My physical fitness is not good enough," Zingai murmured. "I need to practice more." When the people around heard this, black lines slid down their foreheads and they groaned inwardly, wondering if they could still see the sun tomorrow. Plop. Zixio finally couldn't hold on any longer. His body swayed, his eyes turned black, and he fainted the moment before he fell. Zingai caught him, shook his head, and said, "You have the same stubborn temper as Shumeo?" After saying that, the hidden power of time was activated, turning his time back 1 hour. His physical strength was instantly replenished. Zixio opened his eyes, and was confused for a while. "Didn't I faint? How could this happen?" Before he could finish, Zingai slapped him on the head. "Don't be confused, I did it, and I can't get up." Hoshino let go, hugged Yu Guangyi back, and woke him up in the same way. You are lucky to have met me, but you are also unlucky because I am your teacher." Hoshino Feng gestured for the two to return to the team, then spoke with a smile just when everyone was puzzled. Zingai Feng explained to them, "I have a time-space bloodline limit that allows me to speed up or reverse time. I reversed the time of those two guys just now, let their strength recover to the level it was an hour ago, so, you are blessed." Zingai Feng raised his eyebrows and looked at them with a smirk. Chapter 65, You Can't Become a Ninja Just Because You Want to. After hearing this, Yuta Shizukisao and Yu Guangyi swallowed their saliva. They looked at each other and saw the bitterness in their eyes. This teacher doesn't play by the rules. Who can control him? Your class is an ordinary class, which I don't think is good, so I will train you well in the days to come, and try to beat up all the people in the elite class. Zingai Feng doesn't mind making things worse and always says he wants to beat someone up. If you don't finish, sorry, I will tell Tobirama that your graduation will be delayed or even expelled. Believe me, I have the ability. It was clearly a gentle smile, but it made these little kids feel a chill in their hearts, forcing them to believe it. Gudong, looking at the people swallowing their saliva in fear. Zingai Feng was very satisfied. Whether it is delayed graduation or expulsion, neither is acceptable to them. Most of the students in this class are civilians, and very few of them are talented. For them, being a ninja is a profession that can make money quickly. If you ignore the degree of danger, a C-level mission can earn tens of thousands of yen, and if divided equally, each person can earn several thousand yen. For them who come from an ordinary family, this is already a very considerable income. Looking at all professions, the remuneration is almost the highest. Moreover, in addition to the considerable income, their status is also very high. An ordinary chunin can command jinan, and ordinary villagers will greet them when they see them. It is not difficult to imagine how sought after such a profession is with so much money and status, even if it means losing one's life in the middle of the mission. It seems that you all realize the seriousness of the matter, so I won't repeat it. Zingai Feng nodded with satisfaction. Some people said before that the school's teaching was very basic, so I will change the teaching method, ensure there is fun in teaching. Of course, it's my fun, not yours. Hoshino Kaede smiled as the atmosphere became increasingly solemn. The little ghost stopped laughing and made no sound, listening quietly to Feng Zingai's speech. It's noon now. Well, let's eat first. I want to see everyone gathered in an hour. Zingai Feng raised his hand to block the scorching sun hanging high in the sky. After pondering for a moment, he let everyone rest and eat, and then left the playground, allowing them to move freely without the oppression of the big devil. The little ghosts were finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. Only after Zingai Feng walked away a little did they dare to discuss in a low voice, So scary. Teacher Hoshino is so scary, a boy with freckles on his face said fearfully. He won't really expel us, will he? A girl said worriedly. After all, that tone didn't sound like a lie. Yu Guangyi listened to the discussions, thought for a moment, and then looked at Yuta Shizukisao beside him. Zixao, what do you think of this teacher? Yuta Shizukisao sat down on the spot, picked up the lunchbox and ate while saying, very strong. Very powerful. Nonsense, I know that, but looking at the momentum just now, I'm afraid no teacher in the school can compare to him. Moonlight Knight complained, instead of talking nonsense now, it's better to rest more. God knows what they will do to us in the afternoon. Yuta Shizukisao spoke calmly, his mouth never stopping for a moment. He did not waste a single moment of rest upon hearing this. Yu Guangyi immediately sat next to him, opened his lunchbox and started eating. When the others saw the two strongest people in the class eating, they started to do the same. After all, it's always right to follow the strong on the playground. The sight of a large group of children eating on the spot immediately attracted the attention of other classes. In the teaching building, students in groups of 3 or 4 were pointing and talking at them. The first-year student Hatake Tsukumo, who had learned everything by himself, had dead eyes and turned his head to look at Hoshino Kaede beside him. Brother, you don't really want them to fight with the elite class, do you? Zingai Feng rubbed his hair, squinted his eyes and said, of course, words spoken are like water spilled, there is no reason to take them back, but the gap between the elite class and them is too big. I don't see any hope. Zingai Feng thought for a moment, chuckled and said, Tsukumo, this world is often judged by success or failure. But you have to understand that the premise of success or failure is to survive. I don't expect them to be outstanding or reach great heights in the future. I just hope they can live a good life, but various accidents always happen to ninjas, and losing lives is a common thing. Hatake Tsukumo didn't understand, so I let them experience it in advance. Hoshino Kaede said. The profession of ninja is not something you can just talk about. After saying that, Hoshino Kaede walked towards the people who were resting, leaving Hatake Tsukumo with a thoughtful look on his face when they saw the teacher walking over. Everyone immediately stood still without any unnecessary movement. Yes, the afternoon training will be easier. I have information about each of you, but I think it's faster to learn in person. So, when Zingai Feng finished speaking, his eyes swept back and forth as if he was selecting an opponent, and finally fell on Yu Guangai. Come on, little guy, let me see how brave you are. Zingai Feng smiled maliciously. Don't cry, I don't know how to comfort children. Moonlight Knight snorted softly. Teacher, let me show you how powerful I am. Zingai Feng raised his eyebrows. Is this confidence or arrogance? Come on. Zingai Feng put one hand behind his back and hooked it at him, which seemed quite provocative. The venue was empty and the students cheered for Yu Guangyi. Only Zizio felt that Yu Guangyi would definitely lose. Yu Guangyi pressed his body down, then rushed forward and kicked out horizontally with great force, making a sound of breaking wind. Zingai Feng was as steady as a rock. He blocked the attack with one hand, felt the force, and commented secretly, not bad, but not enough. Instead of fighting back, Zingai Feng accurately grabbed his ankle and swung it hard, throwing him several meters away. Moonlight Knight tumbled a few times in the air, staggered a few steps, and then stood firm. That's it? Then you'd better go back, Zingai Feng said sarcastically. Although he knew it was a provocation, Yu Guangyi still felt uncomfortable, with an unknown anger burning in his heart. Damn it, the test just now made him realize that he couldn't gain an advantage through physical skills. If that was the case, he had to find another way. Yu Guangyi formed seals with his hands at a normal speed. Zingai Feng did not interrupt him, but waited to see what he wanted to do after the seal was completed. Two streams of white smoke rose up, and the clones rushed forward as fast as lightning, attacking Zingai Feng from both sides. The real Moonlight Knight came behind Hoshino Kaede like a ghost. His breath suddenly became elusive, and he held the small ninja sword tightly in his hand. Cooperate with a clone to perform Konoha-style swordsmanship. This is his most powerful attack so far. Even Utarashi Shikiseo has to avoid its edge. However, the three men cooperated well with each other. Their swords flashed, and they aimed at various vital parts respectively. Their attack was fierce and dazzling. The next moment, Zingai Feng's mouth corners rose, and in an instant, he moved. Chapter 66 Delicate Flowers in the Village. The sharp knife light was about to fall on Zingai Feng. Yu Guanggai looked happy at this moment, as if he had already seen the moment when he would succeed. It's a good idea, but unfortunately it's just thought. His vision suddenly spun around and his head sank. He saw Zingai Feng instantly coming behind him and slapping him on the back of the head. He took the ninja sword and killed the clones one by one with his backhand. It all seemed so easy. Moonlight Knight covered his head with his hands and grimaced, and it took him a long time to recover. That's a good idea. Use the clone to attract attention, and then use the transparent escape technique to reduce your presence, and then win with one move. Hoshino Kaede commented briefly and intuitively. From the moment the breath became vague, a name suddenly appeared in Zingai Feng's mind. Moonlight Gale. This tragic character, who was killed as soon as he appeared, existed in Konoha like a meteor, fleeting, but he has a bloodline limit, transparent release, which is exactly the same as Moonlight Knight. Although it doesn't look powerful, if used well, it can be a powerful weapon for assassination. What's the use of having a good idea? I still can't touch the teacher's clothes. Moonlight Knight lowered his head, looking dejected. Yutare Zixio said speechlessly, it's abnormal to meet the teacher. Okay, go down and adjust it. Zixio, you come. Zingai Feng landed on Zixio. I wonder if this future Anbu chief can bring him some surprises compared with a head-on confrontation on the Moonlit Night. Yutare Zixio was very cautious. He restrained his breath, hid in the grass, and waited for his opportunity to move. Excellent hunters often have extremely high patience, and Yuta Shiseo is one of them, but the prerequisite is that the level gap between the hunter and the prey is not too big. Under Feng Zingai's perception, his hiding was nowhere to be escaped. Haha, you are still too young? Zingai Feng raised the corner of his mouth, and then disappeared on the spot in an instant somewhere in the bushes. Yuta Shizixeo widened his eyes, and after a second, he said inwardly, not good, hurry up. Boom. A sense of crisis suddenly rose in his heart, and Yutara Shizixeo didn't even think about it. He subconsciously rolled over and left his original position. I saw that Zingai Feng punched the ground, creating a hole several meters deep. If it falls on the human body, the consequences can be imagined. Teacher Hoshino, are you really not afraid of getting into trouble? Yu Guanggai thought to himself, With a hint of worry in his eyes, Yutaro Zixio was secretly annoyed, angry at himself for being too fanciful. In front of such a strong man, hiding his body was useless. On the contrary, Moonlight Knight confronted head-on, showing some self-awareness. Zixio, I am very disappointed with your performance just now, so I will let you have a taste of pain later as punishment for your misjudgment. Zingifeng walked out slowly. His steps were filled with a steady force, and every step seemed to step on Yuzai Zixio's heart. Utashi Zixio gritted his teeth, quickly formed a seal, and said, Wind style? Wind blade. As his words fell, his cheeks puffed up slightly, as if he was gathering strength. Then, he spat out several sharp cutting wind blades from his mouth, and with slight sounds of breaking through the air, they attacked Zingifeng. This wind-style ninjutsu made Feng Hoshino's eyes light up. You've achieved a lot. A smile finally appeared on Zingifeng's face. The wind blades whistled towards him, and Zingifeng formed a seal with one hand, and whispered, Earth escape? Earth flowing wall. A solid earth wall rose from the ground, and several wind blades hid it, leaving only shallow marks. Hoshino Feng walked out from the other side, and was greeted by a series of blazing fireballs. Fire style? Fireball. A triumphant smile appeared on Yutarashi Zixio's little face. He knew that there was a big gap in strength and there was no hope of winning, but it is precisely because of this that Feng Zingai underestimates his opponent. He used the wind blade as the first move, and according to normal thinking, he would definitely use the earthflow wall to defend, and in fact this was indeed the case. He seized on this inertial thinking and used fire style, fireball, to catch the enemy off guard. Excellent tactical thinking, and a promising future. A look of surprise flashed in Zingifeng's eyes, and then he thought to himself, facing the fireball so close, Zingifeng remained calm, and Yuzin was still commenting in his heart, seeing the excitement in Yutarashi Zixio's eyes. Hoshino Feng slowly stretched out his hand, and then invisible ripples spread around. The fierce fireball suddenly stopped where it was and then disappeared. Clap clap. Hoshino Feng clapped his hands and walked towards the dazed Yutaro Zixio step by step. His tactical thinking is flexible and his ninjutsu skills are well coordinated. No wonder he is ranked first. Yutarashi Zixio did not feel any joy, but was immersed in the moment. When the fireball was stopped, there was horror in his eyes. Is this how you master time? There was a dull creaking sound and the intense pain brought him back to his senses. After his eyes focused, Zingifeng suddenly appeared in front of him with one hand on his shoulder. Yuzai Zixio's forehead was covered with cold sweat and his face turned pale. His right hand was dislocated. It's not a good habit to be distracted during a battle. Zingifeng looked at him with cold eyes. Yutaro Zixio pursed her lips palely and lowered her head without saying a word. Well, next one. Zingifeng ignored him as there were still many people who needed to be tested. After Zingifeng left, Yu Guangai hurried forward and asked with concern, Does it hurt? Teacher was too heavy-handed. There was a hint of dissatisfaction in his tone. Yutarashi Zixio shook his head and forced a smile. It's okay. I shouldn't have been distracted during the battle. The teacher has shown mercy. Oh, alright. Moonlight sighed and turned to look at the other students in the class. The others are probably in a worse situation than you, maybe. But don't you think that Mr. Hoshino can teach us more different things? Yutarashi Zixio said with a smile. Yu Guangyu was stunned when he heard this, thought about it carefully, and nodded. It seems to be true. Normally, teachers don't teach us so carefully. After all, we are just an ordinary class, not an elite class. At the end, Yu Guangyu even made a self-deprecating comment. The elite class represents geniuses, and the ordinary class represents ordinary people. People tend to seek benefits and avoid harm. It is more profitable to teach geniuses than to teach ordinary people. This is the case for most teachers. As the two were talking, Hoshino Kaede's test was still going on. But his face had obviously darkened a few shades. These little brats have very poor basics, and their chakra is much scarcer, but these are not the point. The most important thing is that they have almost zero combat experience, and basically just fight randomly every time he was beaten. The veins on Feng Zingai's forehead were throbbing. This level was simply a challenge to his psychological endurance. Okay, I know your level now. Except for Yutarashi Zixio and Yu Guangai, you are all just playing house. I think the village is still too peaceful, which makes you think that being a ninja is very easy. In this case, I will show you a ninja on the battlefield. Every one of them is a delicate flower bud. It really makes me angry. Chapter 67, Go back to the past and witness the battlefield. Hoshino Feng was spitting everywhere, and he was scolding everyone with a look of disappointment on his face. Moonlight Knight covered his mouth to hold back his laughter and almost laughed out loud. Zingifeng gave him a fierce look and said with a playful look, It seems that someone here feels good about himself. Moonlight Knight shook his head like a rattle and said with a flattering smile, no, I think what the teacher said is right, absolutely right. Xing Gaifeng looked for a few seconds, and just when Yu Guangai's heart was about to explode, he looked away. Blue eyes suddenly appeared, and a blue light enveloped the entire playground. The surrounding scene gradually faded, and the dark tones reappeared. Yudashi Xiao's nose twitched, his little face suddenly turned pale, and his brows were twisted into knot. The faint smell of scarlet in the air wafted into his nose, making his stomach churn, and he almost vomited out all his lunch. There's a dead body! A scream suddenly rang out, causing panic in an instant. Everyone was in a panic, and fear lingered in everyone's hearts. Stop! Xing Gaifeng shouted loudly and forcefully, shockling everyone. Yu Guangyu pulled the corner of Zizio's clothes, swallowed and asked, Zizio, where's this place? I don't know. Utarashi Xiao quickly adjusted himself. Although his face was still pale, his emotions were relatively stable. Xing Gaifeng snorted coldly and explained to everyone, this is the camp where Konoha was stationed at the border not long ago. I used time travel to recreate the scene at that time. Take a good look at the cruelty of ninjas. People are afraid of the unknown. The previous scene shocked them deeply. Only after they learned the truth did they calm down. Yudashi Xiao squatted down, grabbed a handful of soil, and felt it carefully. Yu Guangyi asked in a low voice, how is it? How does it feel? His eyes were fixed on the soil in Xiao's hands. It's very real, completely different from an illusion, Utarashi Xiao said solemnly from a short distance away. Feng Xingai heard everything they said and said with a slight smile on his face, let me add one more thing. The world here is real. It is a scene from the past. If you don't want to stay here forever, don't move. Yudashi Xiao frowned. Sure enough, this is the real world. Yu Guangai's focus was different from his. He said nervously, Xiao, this is actually the past time. Is this really possible? After saying this, Utarashi Xiao nodded without even thinking. Of course, what you see in front of you is the evidence. We have crossed time and arrived in the past. They were the only two people present who had the mind to think about other things. The others looked terrified and tried to remain calm. Take a good look at the ninjas on the battlefield. They are different from the ninjas you imagined. Xing Gaifeng threw down the next sentence and stopped talking. He slowly closed his eyes and rested. If you look closely at him, you can see tiny beads of sweat on his forehead. Bringing so many people in is quite a burden. His chakra is being consumed rapidly, and he can only rely on rest to slow it down. After hearing what Xing Gaifeng said, everyone's eyes were focused on the battle in the distance in order to more intuitively reflect the cruelty of the ninja. Kid Hoshino arranged the time node to be the moment when the Raikage arrives. Boundless thunder struck the ninjas of Konoha, tearing their bodies apart and reaping their lives. Blood splattered everywhere, body parts flew everywhere, and the bloody scene made the children gag immediately. Is this the Raikage? Mitarashi Shishio was one of the few people who held back from vomiting. His innocent eyes were gradually degenerating and becoming mature. War brings not only pain, but also human growth. If you have not experienced the baptism of blood, you cannot be called a ninja. Is this war? Is this a ninja? Yu Guangai's body was shaking, he was confused, and kept muttering. Seeing that everyone was in deep thought, Xing Gaifeng waved his hand, and everything melted away like ice and snow, returning to reality. How do you feel? Do you still want to be a ninja now? Hoshino Kaede said with a smile. There was complete silence and no one responded, and Xing Gaifeng knew that this was the case. Konoha can have peace today because there are people carrying the burden forward. You can play freely in the sun thanks to those who are fighting on the front line. Based on the way you were before, I feel like you are a lost generation, a generation without hope, Hoshino Feng said seriously. His thoughts seemed to go back to the time when Konoha was just established. At that time, Konoha was poor, but now, Konoha has become stronger, the quality of life has improved, and children can play in the sun with smiles on their faces without having to worry about the war spreading here. This is the scene that our ancestors all hoped for. These words made them look ashamed. Having witnessed the cruelty of war, they realized that their lives were not easy to come by. Mitarashi Xiao clenched his fists and said loudly, Teacher, we will never be the lost generation. We must be the hope of Konoha's future. The young voice was sonorous and powerful, with a hint of firm belief. Really? Xing Gaifeng raised his eyebrows, and his scrutinizing eyes swept over each of them. Then let me see if it is as you said. That's all for today's class. The real lesson will begin tomorrow. Let's all go back and rest. After saying that, Xing Gaifeng instantly left the place in the past. Everyone would scatter as soon as school was over. But now they stayed quietly where they were. Mitarashi Shishio stepped forward and turned around, a flame flashing in his eyes. We will definitely shoulder the future of Konoha and will be the new seedlings of Konoha. Yu Guangyi's eyes flickered. He raised his fist and waved it vigorously. Damn teacher, I want him to take back what he just said. The two backbones are like two flames. Although the faint flames are small, they are bright and warm. The little flames motivated everyone and brought everyone together at this moment. Everyone had the same thought in their mind. A single spark can start a prairie fire. When Feng Xingai returned home, the corners of his mouth raised and a smile appeared on his face. After a moment, he turned his head and said to someone, "Tell Tobirama that in 1 year, the ninja school will hold a competition, and the top 3 will become my disciples. Students from all grade levels can participate." "Yes," a voice came from somewhere. Xingai Feng shook the teacup in his hand and chuckled. "A year is enough time for them to grow. Konoha, which has just finished a war, is about to become lively again. Those families are going to be very excited. I wonder if they can get what they want." After thinking about it, I decided to leave it to fate since the words had already been said. Then I saw Maruboshi Kosuke's eager eyes. "Ahem, Guji, you're too old, so just forget it," Hoshino Kaede said after a few dry coughs. "Okay." After hearing this, Maruboshi Kosuke looked regretful. Chapter 68, Fire Nation Princess, Tsunade. The next day, a shocking piece of news instantly spread across the streets and alleys of Konoha. Kaede Hoshino, the disciple of the First Hokage who defeated the Raikage single-handedly, is going to hold a competition in the ninja school. The top 3 winners will be accepted as his disciples. The whole Konoha was in an uproar because of this, and everyone was discussing who would become Lord Hoshino's disciple. After all, everyone in Konoha knows the status of Kaede Hoshino, and being able to become his disciple is like reaching the sky in one step. The children in the ninja school had resentful looks on their faces. The teachers became stricter one by one, and the atmosphere of the whole school changed drastically. The wailing sound filled the school, making Feng Hoshino, who lived across the street, happy. But then, his face fell, as if he had eaten a pound of bitter melon, and his face looked bitter. "Tsunade, can you let me rest for a while? You've been making a fuss all morning. You woke me up in the early morning. I really didn't get enough sleep." Tsunade curled her lips, put her hands on her hips, and said angrily, "No, I won't. I want to be my brother's disciple. If you don't agree, I won't leave." As she spoke, she began to roll around on the ground, screaming loudly. Xingai Feng rubbed his eyebrows. He felt the girl's trouble. If it was a boy, he would have done it long ago, so why bother talking about it? But unfortunately, there are no ifs in the world. As the granddaughter of her teacher, Tsunade has been the focus of attention and love since she was born. When she was just 1 month old, the daimyo of the Land of Fire sent people to make Tsunade a princess, so she could be said to have been born in Rome. But her noble status made her peers stay away from her, and she had no playmates, so Xingai Feng accompanied her more often. "I usually rely on myself, but that's why troubles arise." I don't know who was gossiping, but he said that if he accepted a disciple, he would take away his attention from Tsunade. When Tsunade heard this, the little girl immediately got furious and ran over aggressively. Early in the morning she refused to leave and insisted that Xingai Feng accept her as his disciple. After knowing the whole story, Xingai Feng was at a loss for words. What the hell was going on? Tsunade was actually jealous like this. Seeing that persuasion failed, Xingai Feng had to change tactics and coaxed, "Little Tsunade, it's not easy to be a disciple. You should not only listen to your teacher, but also be strict with yourself. So, you can't go to the casino anymore, got it?" Upon hearing this, Tsunade frowned, feeling extremely conflicted. She bit her fingers and pondered. On one side is the concern of his brother, and on the other side is his beloved gambling, neither of which he wants to give up. Seeing this, Xingai Feng added fuel to the fire and said, "But brother is different. Brother promises that no one will bully you and will always care about you. Even his disciples cannot take you away." Little Tsunade's expression lit up, and she asked anxiously, "Really? Brother didn't lie to me." Xingai Feng quickly raised 4 fingers and swore, "Of course, brother swears. It's absolutely true." Seeing how sincere Hoshino Kaede was, a happy smile appeared on Tsunade's face. She threw herself into his arms and rubbed him non-stop. "Brother is the best." Xingai Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Finally he managed to coax this little ancestor. Poof, ha ha ha. Maruboshi Kosuke couldn't help but laugh. Hoshino Kaede's face suddenly turned dark and he looked at him coldly. "Ahem, well, the weather is really nice." Maruboshi Kosuke shuddered, looked out the window, and laughed dryly. To change the subject, Xingai Feng shook his head and said, "Okay, stop playing tricks. Send Tsunade back." I'm going to catch up on some sleep. After leaving Tsunade Taguchi, he suddenly felt sleepy, yawned, and went upstairs to catch up on his sleep. Ding-ling-ling, the bell rang, and all the students walked out tired and listless. Compared to them, Hatake Tsukumo was much more energetic and continued to exercise with Might Eye as usual on the way. Might Eye asked, I heard that Master Hoshino is going to accept a disciple in a year. Is that true? Everyone is spreading it, even children have heard about it, but no one has yet to prove whether it is true or not. Upon hearing this, Hatake Tsukumo showed his dead eyes and said, well, that's true. Haven't you seen that the students are very tired recently? Everyone is preparing for the competition in a year, that's for sure. Who doesn't want to be a disciple of a big shot? Might I said with emotion suddenly. Hatake Tsukumo narrowed his eyes and said, there's someone in front. Might I looked over and said, looking at the figure, it should be a senior student. Oh, your chakra control needs to be strengthened. You can't squander chakra casually. Uterashi Shikiseo said with a crazy look on his face. Moonlight Knight couldn't help but retort, I don't specialize in ninjutsu, so it's almost enough. Utemashi Shikiseo shook his head and said seriously, it's about the same at ordinary times, but it's far from it in actual combat. We must never rely on luck, okay? Seeing this, Moonlight Knight could only sigh and accept it. Utemashi Shikiseo nodded with satisfaction, then frowned, looked aside, and shouted, who? Come out. Moonlight Knight also looked in his direction. After a moment, two figures walked out. Midoriya Shikiseo looked at one of them, then suddenly said, you are the first in the first grade. I remember your name is Hatake Tsukumo. Hatake Tsukumo? Oh, he's the guy who chopped down the entire grade with just a wooden sword, right? Yu Guangyu clapped his hands and said in surprise. His eyes were curious and astonished, as if he was looking at a rare animal. The corner of Hatake Tsukumo's mouth twitched. This look made him very uncomfortable and he felt like an animal. Wow, Tsukumo, you actually did something like this. Might Eye was surprised, and then he looked admiring. How powerful must he be to be able to defeat an entire grade? Hatake Tsukumo rolled his eyes at him and said helplessly, I didn't think too much about the battle at that time. I just wanted to get first place. As a result, more and more people were beaten, and in the end it became like this. It caused a sensation at the time. Wherever he went during those days, people looked at him with surprise when he thought of it. Hatake Tsukumo couldn't help but feel his scalp tingling. Senior Shikiseo is preparing for 1 year later, asked Hatake Tsukumo. Yes, I am determined to get the top 3. Speaking of this, Uterashi Shikiseo's eyes suddenly showed a strong fighting spirit. Haha, you have a really good attitude. Moonlight Knight shook his head and said, I don't think I can make it into the top 3. Those 6th graders are much younger than us and have more experience than us. Yu Guangyu had an embarrassment on his face and was having a headache. He felt that the teacher did it on purpose. Asking the 6th graders to participate would put pressure on them. In response, Hatake Tsukumo calmly said, my brother said that there are many factors that determine victory or defeat, and age cannot be the decisive factor. Moonlight Knight Moon Eyes, that's what you say, but it's still a disadvantage. Uterashi Shikiseo patted his shoulder and said confidently, what are you afraid of? We also have something they don't have. Moonlight Knight's heart moved. You mean? Uterashi Shikiseo nodded affirmatively and smiled with confidence. Might I whispered to Hatake Tsukumo, Tsukumo, do you know what that is? I don't know. Hatake Tsukumo shook his head. But I think this will be the key to their victory. Might I had a question mark on his face, but looking at the confidence in their eyes, he suddenly felt that this might be the case. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Konoha 5 years, the sunset is really red. 1 year later, in the 15th year of Konoha, the weather was clear and windless. The large playground was packed with people, and shouts and cheers were endless. Standing on the roof of the school building, Xing Feng looked down at them and said, I underestimated the influence. There are too many people. With a swish, Tobirama instantly came to his side and heard his words, and couldn't help but speak. Hell, if it weren't for the Anbu maintaining law and order, it would probably be more than this. You're the one who created this, and now you're disgusted with it? Xing Feng coughed lightly and didn't respond. A wave of excitement broke out in the crowd. Seeing this, he laughed and said, let's not talk about this. Let's watch the competition. Zixio has changed a lot. His ninjutsu has become more proficient. Yi is not bad. His swordsmanship training has not been in vain. He has already reached the level of a chunin. It seems that he has put in a lot of effort. Yutare Zixio and Yu Guanggai went straight ahead and resolved the battle quickly. The two of them trained day and night for a year, and with the unintentional guidance of Xingai Feng, their strength improved by leaps and bounds. Even when facing senior students, it is easy to win. Tobirama snorted coldly, but didn't say anything more. Instead, he focused his attention on the two of them and commented with narrowed eyes, Metalshi Shisho, full attribute chakra, like the monkey, first in the same grade, a good seedling. Yu, a member of the Moonlight Clan, has learned Konoha-style sword techniques and possesses the Kekkei Genkei. From the current perspective, the chances of these two winning are quite high. Hearing Tobirama's comments, Hoshino Kaede couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. After all, this was someone he was optimistic about. Tobirama took a quick glance and saw his smug look, then snorted coldly and poured a bucket of cold water on him. HMPH, don't be too proud. They are not the only talented students in the ninja school. Those who come from big families are not inferior to them at all, and may even be better than them. Hoshino Feng shrugged, unable to refute this. His eyes suddenly paused and looked at a battle going on somewhere on the playground, and said, "Who is that kid? He's good at using illusions, and his chakra control is also very smooth." Tobirama followed his gaze, pondered for a moment, and searched for his information in his mind. Yuhi Shinku, 6th grade. According to his teacher, his illusion skills are no less than those of some Jonin. He has great potential and a promising future. Hearing this, Xingai Feng's eyes flashed, the corners of his mouth curled up, and a look of realization appeared on his face. It seems that he is also a strong competitor for the top 3. Tobirama nodded expressionlessly. This was indeed the case for now, but it was not the end yet, and everything was still unknown on the playground. Yutare Zixio had just defeated an opponent and was now recuperating and replenishing his strength. Yu Guanggai narrowed his eyes, held his breath, and then used Konoha-style swordsmanship, coordinated with his clone, to deliver a gorgeous attack. After defeating his opponent, he saw Zixio and immediately walked over. "Did you see me showing off my skills? That knife move was so cool." Moonlight Knight raised his head proudly, like a victorious rooster. Yutare Zixio did not answer, but stared at a certain place. Moonlight Knight didn't get a response for a long time and looked at him in confusion. "That person is very strong," Yuzai Zixio said solemnly. Moonlight Knight followed his gaze and saw the venue where the sunset was really red. With black hair and black eyes and an ordinary appearance, he would be inconspicuous in the crowd, but his calm temperament is eye-catching. Just now, he used illusion to control his opponent, silently and with the least cost. All of this was seen by Yutare Zixio. "Illusion? Tisk, what a hassle," Moonlight Knight said in distress, touching his chin. At this stage, illusions are very tricky for them, and even if they want to dispel them, it will take time. This is very disadvantageous in combat. Just as the two were thinking about countermeasures, a Chunin teacher shouted, "Metalshi Shiseo versus Hinata." Hearing his own name, Yutare Zixio stood up and walked towards the battlefield. "Zixio, come on." Moonlight Knight cheered him up. Yutare Zixio nodded slightly and walked towards the venue with steady steps. "Are you Yutare Zixio? I heard that you have been winning all the time. You are a good opponent, but that's it for now." 5th-year student Hinata said in a deep voice, with a hint of pride in his tone. He thought that with his age advantage and the background of the ninja clan, victory would be easy. Yutare Zixio did not respond to him, but looked at the teacher and said, "Can we start?" The teacher was stunned for a moment, then said, "Begin." Being ignored, Hinata showed a look of embarrassment and annoyance, and immediately used his soft fist stance to attack. Soft fist? 32 palms. With a low shout, his steps changed and countless fist shadows rushed towards him. If hit, the meridians will be blocked, which is fatal to the ninja. Yuzai Zixio was fearless and let the fist shadows from the sky hide him. Hinata looked happy, but then his expression changed with a bang. White smoke filled the air. It was the clone technique. "Oh no, we've fallen into a trap." Hinata immediately became alert and wanted to retreat, but the next second, several wind blades broke through the air behind him. Hinata dodged left and right, and before he could stand firm, Yutare Zixio appeared instantly and attacked his lower body. There was no time to react at all. This is the difference in combat experience. There will always be a difference between theory and practice. Over the past year, in addition to teaching ninjutsu, The most important thing that Hoshino Kaede has focused on is practical combat experience. People of Xionghen at his level can only become the prey of Utarashi Shixio. In the end, Madara Shixio seized the opportunity, swept across, and knocked Hinatachi to the ground. Just as he was about to stand up, a cold kunai was already on his neck. There was no doubt that Hinatachi was crushed from head to toe. Everyone watching the fight stared in shock. The Hyuga members all looked extremely ugly, as if they had eaten a fly. This whole show was completely a personal show of Utarashi Shixio, who was led by the nose. The advantages of soft fist were not brought into play at all, and there was not even a chance to fight back. Matashi Shisho wins, the teacher announced, raising his hand. In the next match, Yu Guangai will face Uchiha Feng. Before Yu Guangai could step forward to congratulate him, he heard his own name, Uchiha? Why do we have to meet such an opponent? Yu Guangai complained. The Sharingan is a natural nemesis to him, and the effect of the transparent release is greatly reduced. Seeing this, Utarashi Shixio, who was about to leave, consoled him, relax, we'll meet them eventually. The transparent release is not useless. Let them see your strength. Moonlight Knight sighed and walked forward silently. Civilians are civilians. They don't even have the courage to fight, Uchiha Feng said sarcastically. Damn it. On that moonlit night, I clenched my fists, anger rising from my heart. It is said that the Uchiha are arrogant, and today I finally saw it. They are more than arrogant. I think they are just a group of people with brain problems. They come up and mock others. Do they have any manners? Chapter 70 End, Disciple. Oh, are you angry? It's just impotent rage, Uchiha Feng said provocatively. Yu Guangyi's eyes darkened, and he said coldly, I hope you will still have such confidence in the future. As the words fell, a faint, cold murderous intent spread and attacked Uchiha Feng's whole body. Uchiha Feng's pupils shrank, and he subconsciously took a step back, but he quickly reacted and said angrily, you are just a civilian, what qualifications do you have to stand here? Utarashi Shixio, who is off the field, showed a mysterious smile. That guy Yi is very scary when he is angry. The battle begins, the Chunin teacher said. Uchiha Feng suddenly opened his scarlet eyes, and two Magatama slowly rotated in his pupils. Two Magatama Sharingan. Yu Guangyi frowned. It turned out to be a two Magatama Sharingan. Trouble, Uchiha Feng said proudly. In front of these eyes, all your actions will be exposed. A trace of fear flashed in Moonlight Knight's eyes, and that vague feeling of being watched lingered. Art Fire Escape Ho Fireball. Uchiha Feng took the initiative and launched several fireballs the size of basketballs, which came at him fiercely, and a burning feeling hit his face. This kind of attack with an obvious trajectory naturally would not have any effect. Moonlight Knight dodged it nimbly, as if dancing in the raging flames, but it wasn't over yet. Uchiha Feng was obviously prepared. He didn't rush forward rashly, but instead used kunai and shuriken to test. It must be said that the Uchiha throwing technique was indeed powerful. Hidden weapons flew like raindrops into the moonlit night, and every attack was full of strategy and calculation. On a moonlit night, he dodged left and right, his figure moving among the hidden weapons like a phantom. Uchiha Feng obviously wanted to consume his physical strength first, but after attacking for a long time, Yu Guangyi was just breathing slightly. There's obviously still plenty of physical strength. What a mistake. Your physical strength has increased so much, Uchiha Feng snorted coldly. With the support of the ninja clan, he investigated the contestants. He naturally knew the situation on Moonlight Night, and knew that his physical strength was his shortcoming, but the scene before him really slapped him in the face. The corners of Yu Guangyi's mouth slightly raised, seemingly happy, seemingly mocking. Your information is outdated, and you underestimate people. As soon as the words fell, Moonlight Night turned into a wisp of white smoke and disappeared on the spot. What? Clone? Uchiha Feng's brain was working rapidly, and his heart was full of doubts. Impossible. Any disguise is futile under these eyes. His voice was full of disbelief. Uchiha Feng suddenly became flustered, and suddenly he felt a chill on his back. His good fighting qualities allowed him to react immediately. His body tilted slightly, and the ninja sword just grazed his body. Yu Guangai's expression froze in surprise. Uchiha Feng quickly pulled away and looked at him with lingering fear. Through escape, that was close. Moonlight Knight frowned and looked at him slowly. Is it a subconscious reaction of the body? Just now, what was supposed to be a winning move was narrowly avoided, which surprised him very much. The existence of Tauten caused his aura and presence to drop sharply, which ordinary people would not notice. Just like an assassin in the dark, he completed the assassination mission silently, but Uchiha Feng reacted on the spot, which was beyond his expectations. I admit that I underestimated you. Uchiha Feng calmed down his excited emotions and said to Yu Guangai, you deserve my full support. Hearing this, Yu Guangyu curled his lips and said, "You are such a tough guy." After several rounds, the two fought back and forth. The Sharingan is truly a powerful weapon in battle, greatly reducing the effectiveness of the transparent release. Uchiha Feng noticed it several times. "Come on, Yi," Yu's Isaac Xiao was worried. After these few rounds, he felt that the situation was a little critical. Ding-ding, the sounds of metal colliding with each other, kunai and ninja swords clashing, and no one could do anything to anyone. Uchiha Feng panted heavily and said with a smile, "This game should be a draw." In his opinion, both sides had exhausted their physical strength and neither could go further, so a draw was obvious, but things would not be that simple. Moonlight Knight showed a firm gaze, and his lips were slightly parted, as if he was whispering something. Then, under Uchiha Feng's shocked gaze, the strength in Yu Guangyu's hands suddenly relaxed without the obstruction of the ninja sword. The kunai pierced directly into Yu Guangai's shoulder due to inertia. Puff, blood splattered out and penetrated deeply into the flesh. Yu Guangyu's eyes were calm, as if he felt no pain, and then he put the ninja sword on Uchiha Feng's neck. "Tsukiaoyu wins." The Chunin teacher looked surprised for a long time, then reacted and announced the result. Uchiha Feng slumped on the ground, stunned for a long time, with a very complicated look. Moonlight Knight's eyes were like a pool of stagnant water. Looking down at him condescendingly, Yuta Shizuka rushed over quickly and stopped the bleeding. At the same time, she looked at him seriously and silently, as if questioning him for his reckless behavior. "Let's go." Moonlight Knight smiled, as if she couldn't see the blame in his eyes. Xiao raised his eyebrows, sighed, helped him to the side, and then called the medical ninja over. Looking at Yu Guangai's departing back, Uchiha Feng smiled bitterly and remembered what Yu Guangai said to him. "Have you ever seen blood?" Looking at the bright red blood, Uchiha Feng sighed and left the venue. Moonlight Knight's decisive behavior made the two people on the roof look different. After a while, Zingai Feng stroked his chin and said, "That boy is really brave. Isn't he afraid of making mistakes?" Tobirama snorted coldly and said unforgivingly, "Humph, you reckless boy." That's what he said, but the appreciation in his eyes couldn't be faked. "Haha, you can't say what you mean." Hoshino Kaede chuckled. "Well, it's over. The top three have come out." Hoshino Feng watched the last competition come to an end, then jumped down. Zihishiku's opponent was fooled from beginning to end and he won easily. At this stage, he could be said to be far ahead of others so far. The top three have emerged: Materashi Purple Sky, Moonlight Knight, and the True Red Sunset. After the competition, the three came to Zingai Feng. Yuta Xiao and Yu Guangai were much more indifferent. After all, they had been together for more than a year, and Yuhishiku looked at Hoshino Kaede with great curiosity. "Follow me." Zingai Feng left a word and started running fast. Seeing this, the three of them looked at each other and hurriedly followed. Hoshino Feng led the three people to a stream, stopped, turned around and looked at them. "My name is Zingai Feng. I said a year ago that whoever can take the top three places can become my disciple." The three of them all became solemn and serious, as the most crucial moment was about to come. "Since I have said it, I will not break my promise. Are you willing to become my disciples?" At the moment when Zingai Feng finished speaking, Yuta Xiao and Yu Guangyi said in unison, "Yes." Seeing this, Zihi's Henhong also quickly said, "Yes." Zingai Feng smiled when he heard this. Then, "It's time to change your words, teacher." X3 The three of them shouted crisply. Chapter 71 6 Immortals, Otsutsuki Haguramo. Ever since Zingai Feng accepted a disciple, he has become quiet and very low-key. Apart from teaching his disciples, he would walk around the streets, chatting and laughing with people he knew, feeling very comfortable and relaxed at this pace of life. Time passes by inadvertently. In the 18th year of Konoha, Hoshino Kaede sat cross-legged in the yard with his eyes closed, his clothes fluttering without wind. The shadow of the clock behind him became much more solid at this moment. The power of time was pervasive, and the mysterious and profound power filled the entire yard. Looking closely, time is disordered and space is seamless, and the trees in the distance experience 4 seasons in a short period of time: the vitality of spring, the lushness of summer, the withering of autumn, and the silence of winter. All are completed in a short period of time. Boom! In an instant, the aura of Zingai Feng was restrained, and the power that was gathered but not dispersed was defeated in an instant, and the order of time was restored. The pure eyes opened, a hint of charm flashed in them, and the whole person became otherworldly, as if out of the world. Finally a breakthrough. As expected, blindly practicing is no longer effective, Zingai Feng said stiffly and mechanically. The emotions on his face could not be seen or felt, just like a puppet. His voice was extremely calm, without a trace of emotion, like a walking corpse. With all his emotions gone, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." Suddenly, Zai's voice was like a huge bell, shaking his mind. Just like an evil spirit retreating, Xing Feng's emotions returned to his body again after a moment of confusion. I recalled my previous state and couldn't help feeling scared. It was a close call. I almost got lost in there. A layer of fine beads of sweat seeped out of Xing Feng's forehead, and he looked terrified. "Even if you are out of danger, you will still inevitably think of it. You are just kidding." Zai's angry voice sounded in his ears. Xing Feng shrank his head and dared not speak out of guilt, but this matter will not just pass like this. Angry words rained down on him, and Xing Feng could only face them with a wry smile. "You've become more capable, right? Are you so reckless because you're afraid you won't sink fast enough? Time is full of mysteries. How many talented people have been buried here? Do you think you are stronger than them? If I had discovered it in time, your consciousness would have collapsed and been controlled by time. Think twice before you act. Don't you understand this principle? You think you're lucky and that you're an indestructible cockroach." Angry words poured out like candy beans. Xing Feng smiled awkwardly and apologized in his heart. "Oh, Sister Zai, you are here. You have great powers, so you will not stand by and watch someone die?" Zai, who received praise invisibly, just snorted lightly and then disappeared. Xing Feng called out twice but got no response. He took a long breath and patted his chest. "Next time, be well prepared and don't rush into anything." The crisis could have been avoided, but Xing Feng was itching to try and couldn't wait, so he rashly rushed into Chao Ying's level from the beginning to the end. Everything went so smoothly. Just when his guard dropped, time suddenly shook and caught him off guard. When he thought about it, Xing Feng wanted to slap himself a few times. Why couldn't he help himself? It almost caused a disaster. After he was thankful, he felt a burst of joy because he had finally broken through to the super shadow and had initially mastered time. Note that it is master rather than control. This also means that Feng Hoshino has gained some understanding of the law of time and is no longer limited by the amount of chakra. Of course, the joy is not just about this. More importantly, he finally has the ability and confidence to deal with someone who has been peeping at him secretly. Hoshino Feng sneered. Then his figure disappeared from the spot and came to a forest somewhere outside Konoha village. "Come out, you've been spying on me for several years. Don't you want to come out and meet me?" Xing Feng looked up at the sky. There was no one in his sight, but he stared straight ahead, very determined. No one responded after the call. Xing Feng had a smile on his face, his eyes were cold, and the corners of his mouth were slightly raised. "You only dare to peek but not meet. Is this the strong man who stands tall in the world?" Xing Feng's tone was cold, and ripples spread under his feet just like waves on the sea. Ripples formed in an instant like a flood. The illusory waves hit the space ahead, heavy as 1,000 pounds, and all that could be heard was the sound of squeezing and tearing. "Alice, why bother?" An old voice suddenly sounded, and an illusory figure emerged. He raised his hand, and the natural energy of heaven and earth gathered in his hand. Then with a gentle tap, the violent waves subsided instantly. "Should I call you the Sage of Six Paths? Or Otsutsuki Haguramo?" Xing Feng narrowed his eyes slightly and pointed out his identity with a smile. "Ha ha ha, you are worthy of being the person favored by time. The past and the future cannot escape your eyes. I have long passed away. I am not worthy of the title of immortal. Just call me Ui." Otsutsuki Haguramo laughed loudly, and seemed to have no idea what Hoshino Kaede would do to him, and was very calm. Xing Feng sneered. "You act like I'm bullying you. You've been spying on me for years, and you don't intend to give me an explanation." As he spoke, Xing Feng's aura changed, and he became aggressive. If he didn't give an explanation, a big battle would be inevitable. Hearing this, Otsutsuki Haguramo fell silent, and looked at the imposing Hoshino Kaede with a sigh. "I have no ill intentions, your presence just makes me curious." "Curious? Just staring at me because you're curious? This reason is too superficial." Xing Feng's words were sharp, with no intention of giving in. Otsutsuki Haguramo gave a bitter smile. "I'm really just curious. Besides, even if I have bad intentions, it's impossible for me to pose a threat to you, to this world." He can be said to be an outsider, even though he was born here, but it is different for Hoshino Kaede. As a person who is watched by time, he himself is not a simple existence without time. The world will not develop, and destiny will not flow. This is a matter of life and death for the world. Almost all worlds will not show any malice towards it, and most of them are kind. The situation in the ninja world is even worse. The rules of time have been exploited and the rules of the world are incomplete, leading to loopholes. The appearance of Kid Hoshino can fill in this missing part of the rules. Because of this, whenever Otsutsuki Haguramo had any unfavorable thoughts, the world's malice would somehow be placed on him. Who knows? Zengai Feng pretended to be stupid and did not answer, but he knew very well in his heart that it was definitely because of this world's I once told him that the time rules of this world were incomplete. Although it was harmless to the overall situation, it was like an unhealable wound. If it remained there, it would cause bad changes. At that time, Hoshinoki didn't care much, but Otsutsuki's words made him suddenly enlightened. At this time, the only thing that can stop the Otsutsuki is probably the world consciousness that Zai mentioned. Chapter 72 Rejection, Minister of Commerce Zengai Feng. It's impossible for you to spy on me without any problems. Tell me. Thinking of this, Zengai Feng relaxed his guard a little. Upon hearing this, Otsutsuki Haguramo said, "You should know my past." He was referring to something that happened thousands of years ago, when there were no ninjutsu. Zengai Feng nodded. How could he not know that there were probably not many people who could seal their own mother? You want to talk about Kaguya Otsutsuki, right? Hoshino Kaede said it all out. He didn't like to go around in circles. It was better to be straightforward. When Otsutsuki Haguramo heard the name again, he couldn't help but sigh. She is our mother, but she was sealed by us. When talking about our mother, Yui's eyes were complicated. Haha, you don't want me to reinforce the seal, do you? Zengai Feng looked at him with a smile. Otsutsuki Haguramo had a complicated expression, and after hesitating for a moment, he nodded. Yes, the mother's seal is not strong enough and there is still a risk of it being broken. I would like to ask you to reinforce it with another layer of seal. The corner of Zengai Feng's mouth twitched. Although he was prepared, he was still shocked by this statement. He had nothing to say, nothing to comment. Sorry, I refuse this. Blocking is always worse than combing. The seal cannot be infallible. Having said that, Zengai Feng said meaningfully, besides, how many more years can you hold on? Your soul is slowly fading away. I'm afraid that maintaining the seal over the years has consumed you greatly. Even though Otsutsuki Haguramo's soul still exists after his death and he can still maintain his physical form, he may be able to deceive others, but he cannot deceive Hoshino Kaede. In his eyes, Otsutsuki Haguramo was disappearing at a slow pace. Although it was slow, he could still see the end. Otsutsuki Haguramo lowered her head in silence, not knowing whether it was because he refused or because he had hit upon what he was most worried about. After a long while, he looked up at the bright moon in the sky and said in a complicated tone, "You are right, there will always be such a day. I will eventually disappear, just like the war will never end." Hoshino Feng heard the sadness in his tone and knew why. After a moment's thought, he founded the ninja sect with the purpose of teaching people to be good and beautiful. But 1,000 years have passed, and the ninja world has changed a lot, but what remains unchanged is the human heart. Greed, desire, cruelty, selfishness, these still remain in people's hearts, unchanged for thousands of years. I don't know about the rest, but the war may stop forever. Hoshino Kaede suddenly said. These words gave Yui a glimmer of hope, and ripples appeared in her eyes. Are you telling the truth? Yui's voice trembled with disbelief. After all, he had tried all his life but had not been able to completely eradicate the war. Now someone told him that they could stop the war forever, which was really surprising. I can't guarantee anything else, but this is definitely possible. After all, the ninja world did become peaceful afterwards. Although suspicions between people still existed, they would not be easily broken. Really? That's good, that's good, Otsutsuki Haguramo whispered to herself, and a smile appeared on her face for the first time. Okay, that's enough. Finally, the dead are gone. Don't interfere too much in the operation of the ninja world. Everything in nature has its own way, and cannot be interfered with by human power. Zengai Feng turned and left. Suddenly, he paused, turned his head and said something to him, then he crossed time and left here. When I got home, I was greeted by 3 disciples. Teacher, where have you been? Moonlight Night is carefree and the most lively, and he does whatever he wants. Zengai Feng said, it's okay, just going out for a walk. How is your mission going? As early as a year ago, the 3 of them formed a team to go out on missions, and the frequency has only recently decreased slightly. That's naturally easy. Yu Guangyi patted his chest, looking confident. Zengai Feng narrowed his eyes and stared at him. Really? Then who got caught during the first mission? Moonlight Night was sweating, stammering, and his face flushed. During my first mission, I was young and full of energy, and thought I was the best in the world, but I was fooled by the enemy. Seeing this, Zengai Feng burst into laughter. Among the 3, He liked the moonlight night the most. Sometimes, you have to admit that active children attract attention, and Xing Feng is no exception. Hearing a series of laughter, Yu Guangyu suddenly felt aggrieved and looked at the other two. Ahem, teacher, this is the document that Senior Yumei from the Commerce Department asked me to pass on to you. Midori Shixio coughed lightly, then handed a stack of documents to Hoshino Kaede with a smile, and also handed over the documents in Yu Hishiku's hand. These two stacks of documents instantly ruined Feng Xingai's good mood. He looked at the two of them with gritted teeth. You two, you want to get beaten, don't you? The Ministry of Commerce was proposed by Kaede Hoshino to Tobirama with the aim of integrating the merchants within Konoha Village. Unified registration, unified management, and setting of commodity tax amounts. If they do not register, there will be no preferential policies. Due to the huge gap, all merchants have to register. After Tobirama accepted the proposal, he improved its functions and then became a hands-off boss, leaving the position of minister to Hoshino Kaede. But Hoshino Kaede is not someone who sits still. He immediately called Izuo Akumi over and asked him to take care of it, while he himself flew away, free and at ease. Facing the threat of force from Hoshino Kaede, Yu Hishiku said calmly, Teacher, Senior Ikumi said that you must sign these in person, no one else can. Xing Feng punched a cotton and said dejectedly, well, leave it there. I'll take care of it later. Teacher, we'll leave now if it's alright. Please handle it well. Come on. Moonlight Knight grinned wickedly, pulled the two men and quickly fled, not giving them any chance to get beaten. Looking at the disciples fleeing backs, Xing Feng couldn't help laughing. 3 brats, but then he looked bitter. Oh, there are so many, when will I sign in? I really envy Gohu and his friends. They live such a happy life, except for Uchiha Nozomi, who wanted to join the guard team. Todo Takatora chose to be a teacher. Although Hinata Kazumi's relationship with the Hyuga family has reached a freezing point, she is only a member of the main family, and she still has to be cautious about people from the branch family. After much thought, she decided to out of sight, out of mind, and kept going outside the village to complete tasks, not returning every month. Compared with Hoshino Kaede's choices, the degree of freedom of the 3 people is not even on the same level. Thinking of this, Xing Feng was filled with resentment. His face was as black as the bottom of a pot, and even his signature had a hint of gnashing teeth. But no matter how much we complain, we still have to sign what needs to be signed. Even though the Ministry of Commerce is a new department, but he controls a major economic lifeline of Konoha, and his status is self-evident. As the minister, the person who can get Hoshino Kaede to sign is not just a simple businessman with the idea in mind that the financial sponsor must not be offended. Xing Feng had no choice but to calm down and examine each one carefully. 2 days later, with the last file processed, Hoshino Feng stood up and stretched, finally liberated. Before he could finish saying the word, someone came running in from outside. Brother Hoshino? Marashi Kosuk ran over in a hurry. This hurried tone made Xing Feng feel uneasy, and veins popped out on his forehead. Guji, you came at such a coincidence, Xing Feng said word by word, his eyes almost spitting fire. Chapter 73 Trip to Lalin. Brother Hoshino, what's wrong with you? Maruboshi Kosuk quickly stopped in his tracks. The dangerous look made him panic. Oh, it's okay, just tell me. After a while, Xing Feng sighed heavily and then said. Upon hearing this, Maruboshi Kosuk hesitated for a moment, then spoke when he saw that his complexion had improved. Hokage-sama asked me to come and fetch you. He said it was something urgent. After hearing this, Xing Feng immediately became confused. An urgent matter? Did you tell me what it was? That's not the case. Maruboshi Kosuk scratched his head. After pondering for a moment, Xing Feng stood up and walked towards the door without waiting for him to take a step. Suddenly, a strange feeling arose inexplicably in his heart, giving him a sense of closeness that comes quickly and goes quickly, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Hoshino Kaede paused, suppressed a feeling, and then headed towards the Hokage's office building. After 3 years of development, Konoha has become more prosperous, with vendors of various kinds everywhere. Putting the ninjas aside, the villagers' living standards and quality are much better than before. It was just the time when the ninja school was over, and he happened to meet Hatake Tsukumo, who was already 10 years old. Tsukumo, you, brother, I want to graduate early. Before he could say hello, Hatake Tsukumo said hurriedly. Xing Feng stopped and looked at him. The stubbornness in his eyes made Xing Feng swallow back his words of refusal and sighed. Tsukumo, is it because of Uncle Aishin? Not long ago, just a few months ago, Uncle Yixin passed away due to illness. He passed away peacefully without leaving any memories. Even so, Hatake Tsukumo has been in a bad mood in recent years, and Hoshino Kaede doesn't want to interfere forcibly, so he hopes he can get over it on his own. Unexpectedly, Hatake Tsukumo would mention graduation. He had wanted to graduate early a long time ago, but Hoshino Kaede evaded the question by saying that he was still young, but now he probably can't stop it. No, I want to graduate on my own. Hatake Tsukumo's eyes darkened for a moment, but he quickly cheered up and said seriously. Seeing this, Zingai Feng showed a relieved smile. It seemed that he had almost come out of it. In this case, I agree. You have grown up, and it's time to let go. Hoshino Feng touched his head. It had been a long time since they had been so intimate. This last time Hatake Tsukumo's face turned slightly red, and he was a little shy, but he did not resist and let Hoshino Kaede touch his head. Tsukumo. Wait for me, might I? Shouted from behind. Zingai Feng smiled and said, Dai is calling you. I have something else to do. I'll leave first. After saying that, he turned around, waved and left. When he arrived at the office, Tobirama had a solemn look on his face. He supported his hands on the table and looked at a document on the table. When he heard footsteps, Tobirama looked up, his frown still on his face. Zio Feng, take a look at this. Zingai Feng read 10 lines at a glance, and the more he read, the more surprised he became. Unknown energy fluctuations appeared in Laolin. Zingai Feng was full of doubts. This shouldn't be the case. At this time, it shouldn't be the time for Laolin to appear. There is a special energy hidden within Laolin, which has been unusually agitated in recent days. They once asked the Sand Ninja Village to help, but in the end they were helpless. Recently, they have been posting missions here in Konoha, hoping someone can solve them. You were the first person I thought of. Tobirama recounted the story. Zingai Feng asked, can this be called an emergency? Tobirama smiled and said, if you hadn't said that, you wouldn't have come so quickly. Besides, it's almost an emergency. If it can be completed, it will be good for Konoha's image and we will get more commissions. Zingai Feng immediately complained, I said you would not do anything without profit, so this is what you were thinking. How is it? Can this task be completed? Tobirama didn't care, but was concerned about the task. If nothing goes wrong, it can be done, but I need to prepare, and it will probably take a long time. Hearing this, Tobirama frowned and asked tentatively, how long will it take? It will take at least a year. Zingai Feng thought about it and gave a time that was both vague and accurate. So long. A hint of surprise appeared on Tobirama's calm face. I went there not only for the mission, but also for some other things, said Feng Zingai. Okay, but you need to hand over the business department's matters to other people. Tobirama thought about it and agreed. Konoha is in a period of rising development. After the end of World War I, the village received compensation from other countries, and these resources are sufficient for development. Today's Konoha has firmly established itself as the largest ninja village. Of course. Zingai Feng nodded, and then discussed for a while and left. After leaving the building, Zingai Feng kept his head down in deep thought. The reason he had promised to do it so quickly was because of Laolin's dragon vein in the original work. The power of the dragon vein can distort space. So Naruto traveled to the past and met the Fourth Hokage. Zingai Feng was naturally interested in such a powerful force. Time and space. There is some overlap between the two since reaching the Super Shadow level. Kaede Hoshino's strength can only be improved by enhancing his perception of time. If you can enter the dragon vein and feel it carefully, you can use stones from other mountains to polish jade, and the gains will definitely be much more than the accumulation of time. Who wouldn't want this method that can improve strength without damaging the foundation? However, before you go, you need to prepare. A few days later, Hoshino Feng was dressed lightly, stood at the gate of Konoha, and looked behind him. I don't know when I can come back after this trip. Zingai Feng thought, nothing should happen after I leave. Shaking his head, putting aside all the complicated thoughts, Feng Hoshino set out on the journey to the Kingdom of Wine. Just as his figure gradually disappeared in the distance, somewhere in the forest, a figure emerged from the ground. The black and white body was weird and terrifying. He looked at Zingai Feng, who was walking away, and smiled sinisterly. Finally gone. Laolin? Looks like my plan can be implemented. Mom, I will definitely rescue you. As soon as he finished speaking, his body merged into the earth and disappeared on the spot. At the same time, disasters continued in Laolin, and a large amount of chakra gushed out. Damn it, go back obediently. Queen Laolin tried her best to maintain the barrier, but due to maintaining it for such a long time, the chakra in her body had already been exhausted at this moment. She was using her life to maintain the barrier. The power of the dragon vein is eroding the barrier wave after wave, and it will probably be broken soon. No, the dragon vein must be suppressed, otherwise Laolin will be destroyed. The queen was smart and knew that the barrier would not last long. He acted decisively, bit his finger, and the blood flowed slowly towards the dragon vein as if it had life. After the bright red blood merged into the dragon vein, the originally violent dragon vein gradually calmed down. Seeing this, the queen's anxious expression eased a little, but did not disappear completely. She knew that if the dragon vein was not sealed as soon as possible, it would awaken sooner or later. I can only pray that Konoha can send someone here, and hope that Longmian can settle down during this period of time. The Queen of Laolan staggered to her feet and prayed silently in her heart. Chapter 74, Queen of Laolan, Sarah. The Kingdom of Wind is the largest country among the 5 major countries, but deserts occupy most of its area. The people built villages in the few oases that were available. Xingai Feng was very fast and crossed the border of the fire country in just a few days. The endless desert in front of him made him feel emotional in such a harsh environment. There are still people who survive here for generations. The tenacity of life is evident, and it is no wonder that they covet the land of the Fire Kingdom. Hoshino Feng looked for a moment, then gazed into the distance, looking somewhere. It seems we need to speed up. Xingai Feng narrowed his eyes. The chaotic and disordered power has been spreading and venting wantonly. Facing this wild power, Xingai Feng smiled indifferently. Suddenly, he remembered something. I wonder if anyone from the future will come back to the present. Xingai Feng was somewhat expectant, with the corners of his mouth raised and his pace quickened a bit. The Kingdom of Laolan is located within the Kingdom of Wind, and can be said to be a country within a country, but the Sand Village has never thought of replacing it. Instead, they sent people as soon as they were asked for help. I'm afraid they also knew the consequences of the dragon vein getting out of control. No one would want to keep such a time bomb in their hands. Well, we're here. It's different from what I imagined. Xingai Feng stopped and looked up at the gate of Laolan Kingdom. There are guards on both sides just like in Konoha, but their strength is, stop, who are you? Xingai Feng had been standing still and his suspicious movements were noticed by the guard, who immediately stepped forward and asked. When asked this, Xingai Feng came to his senses and took out a mission certificate. I am a Konoha ninja, and I am here to provide support under the orders of the Second Hokage. The man looked at Xingai Feng, then looked at the mission certificate, and recalled Laolan's previous restlessness, and immediately spoke. Sorry, please enter the city first. I will report to the queen. After saying this, the guard walked away at full speed. Seeing this, Xingai Feng shrugged helplessly and entered the city first. I underestimated this queen. After Xingai Feng entered the city, he was surprised for a moment by the scene in front of him from the outside. Laolan looked very dilapidated, standing in the yellow sand, and had few resources, but there is a world of difference between the outside and the inside of the city. Although there are not many lights and wine, at least there is order and the vendors and people are doing their jobs in such a geographical location with scarce resources. The fact that a country can be governed in such a good way shows the current queen's ability to govern. After buying some local specialties from a vendor, Feng Xingai put them in a sealed scroll and gave them as a gift. When he returned suddenly, there was a commotion in the crowd, and greetings continued. Xingai Feng had a calm expression and looked not far away. Hello, the Konoha ninja who has come from afar. Queen Laolan pushed through the crowd, her voice light and peaceful, like a clear spring is expected of a queen. Her movements are neither fawning nor offensive. She is a qualified and capable queen. Hoshino Kaede smiled back and thought secretly in her heart, you are very polite, queen. The Hokage knows of Laolan's plight, so he asked me to come and help. Konoha has always treated its friendly neighbors with the utmost sincerity. Hoshino Feng looked at him calmly, without a trace of impurities. The Queen of Laolan was stunned for a moment, then recovered and the smile on her face became more sincere. Thank you for Konoha's help. Laolan will remember this and will repay you in the future. Xingai Feng smiled and nodded, then got down to business. I don't know when the seal started, sir. Don't you plan to visit Laolan? The queen asked in surprise. No, business is more important. Hoshino Feng shook his head and refused. Seeing this, the queen's eyes flashed with surprise, but it quickly disappeared, and then she nodded and said, okay, please follow me. After saying that, he turned and walked towards the palace, and Xingai Feng followed closely behind with a smile. Can you tell me your name? The queen asked softly on the way. This was the first time she had seen a ninja with such a different style. Although Laolan was a country, its strength was weak and was inferior to some small countries. Those who come from big ninja villages are arrogant and look down on the people of small countries. This was the case with the Sand Ninja a few days ago. But this Konoha ninja was the complete opposite. Getting along with each other is like a gentle breeze blowing on your face, giving people a sense of otherworldly temperament. Hoshino Kaede, the queen suddenly paused, turned around and said in surprise, are you Hoshino Kaede? The one who defeated the Rikage. Exactly. It's genuine. I don't think anyone dares to pretend to be me. Hoshino Kaede smiled. The queen looked him up and down and said, I'm really surprised. I didn't expect it would be you. What a woman who is good at reading people's expressions. Hoshino Kaede smacked his lips, but in an instant, his tone changed. This is a transformation of identity, not just respect, but also I'm just an ordinary person. I'm here to carry out a mission, that's all. Feng Xingai said meaningfully. When the queen heard this, her face froze and she tried to hide her embarrassment with a smile. Xingai Feng smiled without saying anything, his eyes shifted away. Some things don't need to be pointed out, it's enough to know them in your heart, Mom. A childish voice sounded in front, and a small figure rushed over. The queen rubbed the little head of the person in her arms and said lovingly, Sarah, why are you here? It should be study time now. Little Sarah stared with her big black eyes, pouted her little mouth, and said coquettishly, Mom, I want to be with you. You child? The queen shook her head helplessly, but said nothing more, her eyes almost overflowing with doting. Sarah was a smart little girl. She looked at Xingai Feng with her little eyes and said in a baby voice, Hello, brother. At this sound, Hoshino Kaede's heart almost melted. Who can resist a cute voice? The calm look from beginning to end finally changed, and he looked at Sarah softly. Aren't you afraid of me? Sarah shook her head, her little head like a rattle. Don't be afraid. Everyone who can stay with Mom is a good person. He is a small person, but he is very serious, as if it is really like that. Xingai Feng was defeated by her innocent words. He looked at the queen and said, She is very cute and very innocent. The queen coughed lightly, waved her hand, and the people behind her coaxed Sarah away before leaving. Sarah waved her little hand at Feng Xingai, as if saying goodbye to him. Excuse me, Sarah has been spoiled by me. Xingai Feng thought of that pure and innocent face, shook his head and laughed. How could it be? Such a child is quite lovable. During the conversation, the two finally arrived at the palace and then went deep underground. Generations of Laolan queens have been responsible for protecting the dragon veins, and only they have the power to calm the dragon veins. Hoshino Feng followed the queen to the depths of the underground palace. Seeing is believing. This is the dragon vein. Even though Xingai Feng was prepared, he couldn't help but sigh when he saw it. The dragon vein before him felt to him like a deep ocean, its power almost endless. If such a large number of people were to explode, the Wind Country would probably be devastated. Chapter 75. The Essence of Dragon Veins, the Origin of the World. It surges with the power of the Yangtze River and is as wild as the Yellow River. Looking closely, wisps of bright red spells were floating around the dragon vein, miraculously calming the violent dragon vein. Following Xingai Feng's curious gaze, the queen explained, This is a secret technique passed down by successive queens. It is also the last resort. If I can't quell it, then I can only use my body as a seal to suppress it. The words were calm, but one could hear the firmness in them. Xingai Feng's eyes flickered. If he hadn't come, the ending would have been as she said. Do you have any solution? Seeing that he was silent, the queen's palms began to sweat. She was worried and afraid. It was not the fear of the dragon veins, but the fear of his own daughter. The mother did not love her child. If she died, Sarah would be alone in the world. Therefore, she hoped that this famous person in the ninja world could find a way, not only for Laolan, but also for a mother. Time passed in silence. The queen's face became more and more gloomy, and the long silence shattered her hopes. She finally reached this moment. Tears rolled down his cheeks, and Sarah's figure appeared in his mind, making him feel sad. It's easy to fix. It just takes some time. Just when he was heartbroken and helpless, Xingai Feng touched his chin and muttered to himself. The queen blinked, with a hint of confusion in her eyes. Is there a solution? What's wrong with you? Xingai Feng turned around and saw the queen's appearance and was stunned for a moment. No, it's okay. These are tears of joy. The queen wiped away her tears and forced a smile. But in my heart I was complaining. Heavy breathing while talking can kill people. Xingai Feng didn't think much about it, but continued. I can reseal the dragon vein. I need to go inside during the process, and it will take a long time. Of course, the dragon vein will not become violent during the process, but during this period, no one can enter here. Okay. Hoshino Kaede stated all the conditions clearly and looked at the queen with a smile. The conditions were all there, and the queen of Laolan was no fool. She knew it would not be bad for the kingdom of Laolan, so she nodded immediately. Okay, I will order no one to get close until the dragon vein calms down. The queen acted quickly and without any hesitation. At the same time, she felt relieved that God had given her a way to survive so that she could watch her daughter grow up. After the queen of Laolan left, Xingai Feng sensed his surroundings again, and after confirming that there was no one around, He slowly raised his hands. The blue light on the ground beneath his feet flowed along with the blood, filling the fragile barrier between reality and illusion. The fragile seal gradually became stable. And Xingai Feng nodded as he looked at his masterpiece. Let me see the secret of the dragon vein. Xingai Feng set up a sealing barrier in the underground palace, then activated the power of time and dived into the dragon vein. A bright green light suddenly burst out, illuminating the underground palace like daylight. At the same time, a terrifying aura was gradually rising, venting its power outwards, but it was blocked back by a barrier of nothingness. The light flickered, as if wondering why it couldn't get out. The next moment, the dragon vein suddenly became silent, and the light dimmed, like a sleeping child falling asleep inside. Kid Hoshino's body is covered with a layer of time rules to protect herself from being harmed, just like a fish swimming in the dragon's vein, or like a dragon entering the sea. Every cell in the body is clamoring and longing. Xingai Feng did not realize that at this moment, his life level was rising at a rocket speed. His physical fitness and body structure are being sublimated and reorganized one by one. Feng Xingai was completely unaware of all this. He looked around the place with an inquiring gaze, hoping to get some information, but after observing for a long time, I was still completely in the dark. Suddenly, Zai's voice appeared in his mind, with a tone of surprise, as if he was curious about his situation. How could you find such a place? It is not difficult to hear from her tone that dragon veins are very rare. What's wrong? I feel like there's nothing here except chakra and natural energy. Hoshino Feng didn't understand. With a chuckle, the mocking sound continued to echo in my ears. Ha, you? The person involved is confused while the bystander is clear. The most precious things are not these things. After saying that, she paused, as if admiring the stupid and clear look in Hoshino Kaede's eyes. Did I say something wrong? Hoshino Feng scratched his head. Alice, Zai sighed deeply. His tone was very strange. Such a precious place was actually wasted by someone who didn't know the value of it, being ridiculed in front of him. Even though Xingai Feng was thick-skinned, he couldn't help but blush. He said stubbornly, then tell me, what's so strange about this place? Okay, I'll be magnanimous and tell you. Zai paused and explained, this should be one of the locations of the world's loopholes. Remember what I said before? Xingai Feng nodded blankly. I remember. Zai continued, this world, which you call the ninja world, has incomplete rules and some flaws, and this is one of them. The so-called chakra and natural energy revealed are the original power of the world. It just degenerated into its current state in the current environment. Well, to put it in layman's terms, it's like a wound on the surface of the human body. It's just that this wound won't heal on its own. It exists naturally. Xingai Feng seemed to be thinking about something. No wonder he felt so comfortable here. Bathing in it made his spirit transformed. It turned out to be the original power of the world. As a native of this world, he would certainly feel comfortable. So, what's in it for me? Hoshino Feng asked a question that made Zai roll her eyes. A rotten tree cannot be carved. Zai shook his head and said, I sense that the laws of the surrounding space are very strong, which is very suitable for you now. Release your mind, use the feeling of comprehending time to comprehend space, and integrate the laws into yourself. This will be of great benefit to you in the clock, although it will take more time. Xingai Feng nodded blankly, still not understanding. You, forget it. Just understand it and do as I say. Inside the clock, Zai held his forehead helplessly and said speechlessly. Hoshino Kaede shrugged and was about to start when Zai spoke again. By the way, when you gain insights, remember to repair this loophole and fill the hole. In this way, the dragon veins will never riot again, and the spatial barriers of the ninja world will be more solid. Hearing this, Xingai Feng muttered, I know, why do I feel like you are like my mother? Humph. If I had a stupid child like you, I would have been mad to death long ago. Zai sneered. Xingai Feng didn't hear or respond. For a moment, no one spoke. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.